says the Biden administration is doing this in an effort to hinder President-elect Trump's efforts to secure the border. The Murfreesboro Boy Scout troop selling Christmas trees at a local church says somebody has ripped them off. The Boy Scout Troop 197 says someone came in the middle of the night on Sunday, disabled security cameras, and stole 98 of their trees. The troop's leader said the area tree lots have reached out to help them, and the Boy Scouts have taken extra measures to secure the trees that they do have left. The troop raises money every year by selling Christmas trees at the Fellowship United Methodist Church at the lot there on New Salem Highway. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Michelle Franzen.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks down across the board Thursday over worries that inflation is sticking around. The Producer Price Index, which tracks inflation before it reaches consumers, rose 0.4% last month from October. Year-to-year prices climbed 3%. The Dow dropped 234 points. The Nasdaq Composite retreating from its record high, losing 132 points. The S&P giving up 33. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says it's capping overdraft banking fees at $5. The rule will take effect next October if it isn't changed by the Trump administration, which also promised to cut back IRS funding. The tax agency today announced it got back nearly $5 billion in back taxes and proceeds from crimes since 2022. YouTube TV is hiking its monthly price again, up $10 to $82.99. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Well, stock futures this morning pointing upward pretty nicely. Dow futures are up 100 points even. We've got NASDAQ futures gaining 145. The S&P futures are plus 20. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. We've got some trouble this morning at Ezell Park. It's Harding Place at Harding Industrial Drive, Ezell Pike. A crash involving injuries. Otherwise, traveling in this morning on 24 looking pretty good. No problems to speak of on 40 and 65 free of any delays this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. It is me, and I'm back. Sort of. I'm like halfway there, Joan and Johnny.
You don't sound too bad.
Been 5 long hours. That had to be the longest overnight radio show I have ever done.
Yeah.
And I was holding out okay until the first half of the 4, and then the wheels just fell off. And but now I think I'm back on track. Have you seen the drone footage, Joan and Johnny, from last night? There were drones over New Jersey and Connecticut and in California as well. And I'm assuming that everybody's been talking about the drones, and it's been a big part of the news cycle. And they're all over the country. And now there's another story out of Georgia where they're seeing drones down there, and in Oregon where they're talking about seeing some UAPs, unidentified, what are they? Unidentified aerial phenomenon. And so I think these things are all over the place. Do you think this is people just saying, hold my beer, watch this?
I believe John Kirby when he says things like, these are actually manned aircraft being flown lawfully. And what are you so worried about, people?
Did you hear the snark in his voice?
Oh, yeah.
When he was speaking yesterday?
I do not understand what this administration thinks it's getting away with.
Well,
they're not protecting us. Their first obligation is to secure Americans. Our border is open, and we've got drones flying all over the place. Oh, my goodness.
This is what John Kirby sounded like when answering the question about the drones.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. We have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings.
Like there's a snideness in his voice, and it's like he seems like he's irritated that he even has to talk about this.
Yes, it does seem like he's irritated. Yep. Crazy.
To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace.
So I like how Jackie Heinrich from Fox News.
She got him.
Oh, she did. Listen to this.
On the drones, does the U.S. government have any of its own imagery or video of these systems?
I'm not aware that we have U.S. government produced imagery ourselves, but as I said in my opening statement, we have certainly done thorough analysis of the existing imagery.
So what she's getting at, the point she's getting at, is they're making this decision that these drones are nothing to worry about from people's cell phone videos. And one of the things that I was saying during the overnight show is that it's stunning to me that America can slice and dice a terrorist on a roof from hundreds of miles away with a drone, yet we can't figure out what these things are. To me, it's rather shocking that, number one, either they don't know or they expect us to be stupid enough to believe what John Kirby is saying.
From people's cell phones that we're seeing. Basically, with what you're looking at, how can you credibly tell people that there is no public safety threat, there's no national security threat, that there's no reason to believe that a foreign government is involved?
Because the analysis thus far,
This is, by the way, this is how you speak to like a 5-year-old who keeps saying, why can't I have this? That's the attitude that John Kirby has.
Government is involved.
Because the analysis thus far, in an investigation that is ongoing, has not revealed any national security or malicious intent or criminal activity.
There you go. So John Kirby. You know who doesn't believe John Kirby? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, number one, I'm going to call it total bullshit that no one knows what these are. And I think it's a slap in the face to the American people to say they don't know what this is.
There you go. Marjorie Taylor Greene believes it's total BS.
If they're telling the truth, then this country is in horrible shape. We're all in danger. I mean, seriously, if our great government can't identify what these drones are, they're flying every single night, that people are sitting out there videoing with their cell phones, then no American is safe. I have no respect if our government cannot say what these are.
There you go. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
What bothers me is that it's not just that the government can't identify them. They're not trying.
They're not taking it seriously.
Nope.
I know what the thing is, too, is that after the Chinese spy balloon, for them not to take this seriously is just, you people never learn. They just never learn. And the other thing that bothers me is that they seem so perturbed, John Kirby seems so perturbed that people are not buying this story. And the other thing that I thought was interesting was that this guy, I was talking about this on the overnight, the Jeff Van Drew, I think he's a New Jersey congressman. And
who used to be a Democrat. He switched over a couple of years ago.
Oh, is he that guy?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he comes out and he says what he said about how, and this was yesterday, about how Iran, this is an Iranian mothership and they've got these drones and they're hovering over New Jersey. And so the governor for the state of New Jersey comes on. Is it Phil Murphy?
Phil Murphy.
Phil Murphy. And I don't have time to play all of the audio now, but Phil Murphy is talking to, I think it's actually NPR. And she asks him basically the same question, which is, how can you be so sure that, these aren't drones that are meant to do America harm? And one of the things that he said, and I'll be able to play the audio coming up after the traffic. One of the things that he said, he invoked the name Alejandro Mayorkas like 2 or 3 times. And it's like, are you kidding? That's the name that you're going to invoke to help calm America's fears about these drones. The same guy, Alejandro Mayorkas, who told us that the border was closed when it was open and the Chinese spy balloon was nothing to worry about, and all of these other things that Alejandro Mayorkas has said that are lies to the American people. And so, and I call Alejandro Mayorkas, he's a dolt. I don't know. That's the word that always comes to mind when I think about Alejandro Mayorkas. And so I love, though, when the reporter asks a question, and it's basically the same question that Jackie Heinrich asked John Kirby, which is, if you don't know what it is, then how do you know what it is? Details straight ahead. It is 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Ezell Park. It's Harding Place at Harding Industrial Drive. That's Ezell Pike. There's a crash involving injuries. Been there for a little while this morning, and that may cause some delays heading out. Otherwise, we're looking good on 24. 65 also, no problem so far. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. Mostly cloudy today and a high of 53. Rain on Saturday through Sunday morning. Highs both days near 60. 35 degrees at Super Talk 99.7. WTN. I hate to do this on the air, but Johnny, do my levels sound fine? I'm broadcasting from home for people that aren't watching on Super Talk TV. Everything sound all right on your end?
The sound sounds great. The video is kind of bizarre.
The video is bizarre.
It's really wonky.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, tell me what's happening.
Well, it's like everything around you, except for the mic, is
blurred out.
Yeah, blurred out. It looks like you're it looks like you're at a treatment facility to get off the slippery
elm.
Yeah. Like they've let you broadcast, and there's people in the room that are on the program too, and they're trying to keep them.
If you listen closely, you'll hear people say, "Hi, Dan." You guys know the joke, right? Anyway, we'll get to that coming up. But Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, this is what he had to say about these drones over New Jersey.
The Department of Defense said there's zero evidence to that effect. FBI said zero evidence. I'm not sure what he's been watching lately, but he might want to watch the news. Israel has decapitated Iran, and we have through economic sanctions. I don't think they've got boats off the coast of Iran right now. So let's not fearmonger this. Let's try to honestly put our heads down with a sense of urgency, based it on facts, and try to figure this out together.
Well, here's the thing: is that they're not really putting their heads together. I mean, just as you said, Joan, it's like they're not even trying. And so you've got all these people now that are laughing at Congressman Van Drew for making these claims that these drones are Iranian. But what's more laughable, Congressman Van Drew saying these drones are from an Iranian mothership, or the fact that our own military and government really don't know what these are, and they don't really know what to do about them. I mean, John Kirby says these are nothing to worry about, which, really instills a lot of confidence. I don't know about you.
When you say we don't see any evidence of a threat to public safety, what is that based on? Because if you can't say what this is and who it's coming from, how can you know?
I don't have a crisp answer for you on that one. That's the $64,000 question. But I'm relying overwhelmingly on the experts in the federal government.
He's relying overwhelmingly on Alejandro Mayorkas. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, I don't know why this keeps coming up with Democrats, but do you hear yourself? Because Phil Murphy is, of course, a Democrat. And, Van Drew, for his part, and I don't know if you know this guy, Joan, but because we know that you're from New Jersey.
I don't know him, but I'm not crazy about him for these reasons.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? Here's the thing with Van Drew is that he's not going down without a fight. I mean, you got all these people that are making fun of him, and he is saying, listen, I am not the dumb one. They're the dumb ones.
They've been incredibly stupid and incredibly weak with this. Here's the point. We know they're not backyard drones that some hobbyist is using because they're much more sophisticated than that. We know that they're not a commercial company within the United States because we don't even have this level of sophistication yet. We are a full decade behind where China is with drones. The government claims it's not them. They say it's not them. So who is it? Well, I had credible individuals who have high security ratings, and they came to me. And again, these are dependable, credible individuals that have security clearance that felt that they wanted to clear the air. They were in essence whistleblowers and said, look, they believe there's a real possibility it could be Iran, that there could be a ship out, not right on the coast of New Jersey, not right there, but these drones, as cited by the Coast Guard, are coming in and out of the ocean. We're not being told the truth. They are dealing with the American public like we're stupid.
All right, so now I've been gone for a few days, and I'm going to be honest, I love everyone at the radio station. Have not turned it on once.
Wow.
I've been literally in my deathbed. So, as you can see, I came out the other side. So, I'm dying to know, where does Chris Hand fall with all of this?
Johnny, back me up on this. I think he's clearly thinking that the government is lying to us as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And to clarify, I fully respect Van Drew. I thought we were talking about Governor Murphy.
I was going to let that go.
Yeah. No.
I knew because I went into the audio and I'm like,
guys. Yeah.
I think she mixed it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Murphy's he's right up there with Mayorkas, just a guy that doesn't seem to have it all together.
He didn't even show up to that hearing. There was a hearing. Today is Friday, so hearing was on Wednesday. He didn't even show up.
No kidding.
Didn't feel like it was important enough to be there.
You know what? It's going to look really bad if this turns out to be another Chinese spy balloon kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
It is going to look really bad. All right, so Johnny, real quick, the video. Does my title still say Amy Mandis on it?
At the bottom left, yes.
Okay, good. So my lovely wife has done something. She came down here to use my computer for a Zoom call. And she made the title Amy Mandis, and of course, I'm 1,000 years old and can't figure out how to change the title. So,
that
for
may
today
be why,
and today only, I'll be Amy Mandis.
That may be why we're having trouble with the feed as well. There could be something different.
Yeah.
Oh, because like all the blurry stuff?
Yeah, but
She
it could
blurred
be.
out.
But it may not be just her. It may be me too, because me and Super Talk TV, we don't get along real well sometimes.
That's all right. Jesus, I'm sorry. Was that as loud as I think it was?
Yeah, it was.
What?
He's deaf
sorry.
now. Congratulations.
All right. Joe and Jones, what is coming up in the news?
Prosecutors in Manhattan are taking some new steps in the case against Luigi Mangione. Also, there's a local DA that just removed himself from a murder case after he was accused of secretly recording somebody else's conversations. Those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis from Nashville's Morning News. The Wall Street Journal reported a while ago that people are feeling stress, anxiety, and depression because of this election. If that's you, talk to my guy, Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He is a psychiatrist out in Nolensville. Now, he can help you with not only depression, if you're feeling it because of politics or whatever, but he can also help you with alcoholism, drug abuse as well. Go to his website, nolensvillepsychiatry.com. He's got a long list of conditions that he can help you with, either in person or at telehealth. Bottom line is, he wants to make it as easy as possible for you to get the help that you need. He can help your kids as well. Check him out online. Again, nolensvillepsychiatry.com. The number's below. Thanks for listening, and good luck. 528, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Joan Jones and Johnny B. By the way, coming up at 6:37, Stephen Bucci from the Heritage Foundation. He's going to join us, and he's going to give us, he's a big military guy, and he's going to give us his perspective on, among other things, the drones. And we've had more drones in California and also in Connecticut overnight, and yes, New Jersey as well. So that does remain a story. Also in the news, coming up at 5:35, I cannot wait to tell you what restaurants in Washington, D.C. have in store for Donald Trump and his administration. 615-737-9986. The Super Text line is open. And if you want to upgrade your home and save money, listen to this great deal from my friends at Window Nation. They're offering an incredible discount on new windows right now. It is their incredible end-of-the-year sale, and it is a very big sale. That's right. Window Nation is offering you 50% off all window styles plus 0% interest for 72 months. That is 6 years with no interest. And you also get another 10% off. Now, listen, it is getting colder. If you have old and inefficient windows, then you've got your warm air inside leaking outside, and that cold air is coming in. You save on the new windows and heating bills with Window Nation. So give your home the gift of great windows for Christmas and check out the great savings with Window Nation. They can install your new windows in a day or less, and they come with a lifetime warranty. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Good morning. It's 5:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Stick around for the forecast and traffic still to come. In the case against suspected shooter Luigi Mangione, prosecutors in New York are taking a new step to build their case against him in the murder of a health insurance CEO.
Sources tell ABC News prosecutors in New York are now presenting evidence to a grand jury as they work to secure an indictment against Luigi Mangione. An indictment would strengthen the case for extradition to New York, which Mangione is fighting. He's behind bars in a Pennsylvania cell, charged in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione, an Ivy League graduate from a prominent real estate family, allegedly wrote about his criticism of corporate America and the U.S. healthcare system. But the NYPD says there's no indication Mangione was ever a client of United Healthcare.
That's ABC's Andrew Dimbert reporting. The Davidson County District Attorney is removing himself from a murder trial after accusations that he secretly recorded conversations. Lawyers for Calvin Atchison accuse Glenn Funk of recording their private conversations when they visited Funk's office to review evidence. Atchison is accused in a 20-year-old murder case. Well, now Funk filed a new motion naming nearby DA Robert Nash, who serves in Clarksville, as the new special prosecutor on that case. Stanley is recalling more than 2.5 million travel mugs because they pose a burn hazard. The recall involves Stanley's switchback and trigger action travel mugs. The lid threads can shrink when exposed to heat, causing the lid to detach. Consumers should immediately stop using those mugs and contact Stanley to receive a free replacement lid. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, looks pretty good on the road so far this morning. Just a touch of the brakes on 24 westbound heading up to the Antioch area this morning. No problems on 65 and looking good out at the airport. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into the Gang of Three. Joan Jones is here. Good morning, Joan.
Hello there.
Johnny's here. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Dan.
And I'm Dan. Johnny, you sound so downtrodden.
He does.
I know it's not the same when I'm not in the studio, but you can see me like everybody else.
Well, that's true.
And if I stand up, you'll see that I'm wearing pajama pants.
All right.
Woof, TMI.
They have little puppies on them.
They have puppies on
Way too much information.
Is that way too much TMI? I'm sorry. You people have been saying that I've been in rehab for slippery elm.
That's true.
Hold on. Johnny and I did not start the rumor.
We did not.
That was Chris.
That was Chris.
Oh, you leaned right into it, though, didn't you?
Throw him right under the bus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we will.
Yep.
I have felt so crappy over the past couple of days. I left, so I felt weird on Monday, but then Tuesday morning, I felt fine. And then I got into the office, and I don't know if you guys remember, but I started like going downhill as the show progressed. So by the time 9 o'clock hit, I was like out the door. I'm going home, and I basically did not get out of bed for 2 days. And here I am at home. And I got to tell you, it has been a very rough bout. And so my voice is, after 5 hours of red eye, and now I've got this show to do.
It's a little iffy.
And another one.
You know what? I think it's okay. It's just, it's like dropping out a little bit every now and again.
Yeah.
So, 32.93. Meth is bad, Dan. Listen, if I was on meth, I wouldn't be nearly as tired as I am, from what I understand. Somebody, by the way, liked a joke that you made, Joan, and I totally and completely missed it.
It wasn't a joke.
You said something about without evidence?
That's right.
35.94. What was the?
Isn't that the phrase that we heard so many times during the Trump administration, the first Trump administration? I said in my newscast that the White House said yesterday without evidence that the drones were actually manned aircraft being flown lawfully. And I say without evidence because they don't have them. They don't know that. They're using other people's cell phone recordings to determine what these things are. They haven't even sent up their own drones to figure it out.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. So clearly it is without evidence. And thank you for catching that 6380. No, I don't know. 3594.
I think it's great. I love that you threw down without evidence, because those two words used to be so infuriating.
Yes.
It'd be like, Republicans say without evidence that the border is open. It's like, oh my God, all you have to do is look at the border.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've seen camera shots.
Oh, absolutely.
I
I
also love that they're trying to say these drones are landing lights on aircraft.
No, have they seen the videos?
Yeah,
I've been watching the videos all night.
Yeah, the videos do not subscribe to that theory.
By the way, has anybody seen a better day for President-elect than yesterday with Donald Trump?
He keeps winning.
I mean, good Lord.
I'm
not tired of the winning yet.
Me neither. He had his whole family on that stage while he was doing the Person of the Year announcement.
Yeah, wasn't that cool?
It really was.
He had Melania was up there too, right?
She was.
Yes. Sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So, at some point, maybe at the 8:35, I've got some great audio of Don Lemon trying to cope with the fact that Donald Trump is the Person of the Year for Time Magazine, and things aren't going well for Don. And somebody may want to do a wellness check on him this morning, because he clearly, obviously, not a Donald Trump fan, and now he has gone to X to vent his anger at Time Magazine. So, and here's the funny thing. What's that?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know. You want to hear it now?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay. I don't know if there's any cursing in this, but it's Don Lemon, so who knows?
Yeah.
Now, if they wanted to make someone Person of the Year, they would have made someone who, and my God, I'm sure he loves this, right? If they wanted to make someone Person of the Year, I don't know, they could have done it with any person. People, they could have done it to someone who actually stood for democracy, who stands for democracy in the country. Now, you think about what encompasses Person of the Year. Just because you are elected president of the United States does not mean that you should be Person of the Year. What Time Magazine, what are you doing?
He's a little butthurt.
Let me ask you, Time Magazine. What do you say to the women who, I guess, still read Time Magazine?
Oh, Lord.
Now, realize this guy got bounced off the CNN morning show because he was a pig to work with. Remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
So now he's going to, start invoking women. Okay.
Or the women who don't they do like a whole Time 100 thing or something, which, what about the women who are on that list? What about that? I'm sure some of them will had dealt with issues that women have to deal with, like discrimination in the workplace, SA, all kinds of things.
Where's he? I don't know where he's going with this. Do you guys have any idea about where he's going with this, Don Lemon?
No.
All right.
Like he's reaching.
Well, yeah, and it's like, dude, this is like a podcast, so you should have had your thoughts together a little bit.
You have someone on the cover of your magazine who is an adjudicated assaulter.
Oh, please.
No, stop it.
You have someone who inspired an insurrection. You have someone who, without a doubt, the evidence is there, tried to overturn a free and fair election. You had someone who had multiple criminal.
Do you know what I wish I had? Had I been thinking, I would have had like the sound of a baby crying.
Yes.
Underneath Don Lemon, because that's what he sounds like, right? He sounds like a petulant, sore loser, and he's whining like a little baby.
Counts and found guilty on multiple criminal counts.
In a kangaroo court, by the way.
Yep.
Thank you.
And you name them Person of the Year? Is this a joke? Did we get something wrong? Did someone scam us? Are we sure?
The only thing I've done wrong is sitting through this video.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Good Lord.
Sure about this, producers? There is a convicted felon on the cover of Time Magazine as the person.
Does he not understand, we talk about this ad nauseum, but, the Person of the Year was Adolf Hitler one time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not supposed to be good or bad. It's supposed to be, I don't know, what is it, impact?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Person of the Year. Maybe we're being scammed. Did someone put out a fake tweet or something about this?
That's it.
Good Lord. I wonder if he'd said the same thing if they chose Hunter Biden.
I don't know, man, but Don Lemon, he can't understand. And you know what's so interesting is that there are still people who are Doge applicants ready to work 80 plus hours for free.
Crazy.
You guys see that story? I guess Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're asking people to work for free, to work for Doge. Have you seen that?
Wow.
Yeah. I'll get to that in a second. But, it's interesting that the Don Lemon is, and there's people like him who they don't understand that there's another side. And that all of those stupid things that he just said, people don't care. People have realized that the media and our government was so incredibly bad that they decided that they were going to forego all of that and just say, we don't care. We don't care. We're going to vote for Donald Trump. That's how bad we think you are. And that's how bad we think the government is. And that's what that whole thing is about. So while Don Lemon is sitting over there face palming, doesn't really matter.
He's not even relevant anymore.
No. Well, the funny thing is he's doing this on like a video in his kitchen as opposed to the television.
Has he joined a new show, or does he have any prospects for employment now?
No. Would you touch him with a 10-foot pole?
No, not at all. But I didn't think anybody would, and CNN kept him on for a long time.
Yeah, but then he had to resign in disgrace. So in Washington, D.C., this is the headline. This came out this morning. D.C. food workers vow Trump officials won't feel welcomed when dining out in the nation's capital.
Oh,
so here we are again, right? With
remember when Sarah Huckabee Sanders?
Yeah,
and her
when
family
she went to go eat, and I forget exactly what they did with her. But this is another Maxine Waters moment. Make them feel not welcome.
Yes.
Food workers in Washington, D.C. pledging to refuse service and cause other inconveniences for members of the incoming Trump administration when they dine out over the next 4 years. Do you know what I would be worried about? People spitting in my food.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the first thing I thought of. Or worse.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even eat out there if I were anyone in that administration.
Industry veterans, bartenders, and servers in the nation's capital telling the Washingtonian that resistance to the Republican figures in the progressive city was inevitable and a matter of conscience. They say you expect the masses to just ignore RFK eating at Le Diplomat.
The Diplomat, yep.
On a Sunday morning after a few mimosas and not to throw a drink in his face? Good Lord, man. I mean, these people...
They're children.
Yeah.
Are children. That was Zach Hoffman, by the way, a D.C. restaurant veteran who is now a manager at the National Democratic Club. You know, I would wonder, because bartenders and servers, I mean, let's be honest, Trump is the one that wants to not tax tips, right? So you would think that if they had actually any modicum of policy behind their threats, you would think that somebody within the brain trust of the bartenders and servers would be like, you know, he doesn't want to tax our tips. So maybe we shouldn't throw a mimosa in the face of RFK Jr. or Donald Trump or anyone else. You know what I mean?
It does seem a little backhanded they were given a gift.
Yeah. You would think. They say this person theoretically has the power to take away your rights, but I have the power to make you wait 20 minutes to get your entree.
Oh, good Lord.
Right. So they said they're going to try to make this kind of subtle.
Yes.
So they realize they're, not welcome without somebody running out there and saying, get out of my restaurant.
Another woman said Nancy says that she would refuse service to certain Trump officials. If her employer tried to force her, she claimed that she would quit on the spot.
Well, please do.
Yeah.
You know what I find interesting? Nancy doesn't give her last name. Nancy is a fine dining bartender talking to the Washingtonian. Mm-hmm. And Nancy doesn't give her last name. So if Nancy is as badass as she seems to think that she is, she should give her last name. Because if Nancy was my employee, I would fire her on the spot. I would give her the opportunity to quit on the spot. I would fire her on the spot.
I would posit that these people, the owners or the managers of these restaurants, know who Nancy is, unless Nancy didn't give her name, her real name.
Yeah.
They know. I mean,
yeah.
It's so rampant in Washington, D.C. The hatred for Donald Trump is so rampant. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And it's sad.
Mm-hmm. It is sad. And the thing is, I keep hearing this, he's going to, we won't have democracy anymore. Good Lord, the last 4 years, democracy was taking a back seat.
Well, the problem is that they're so blinded by their partisanship that they are unable to, what's the right way to put this? They're unable to see past it, which is why that's like Don Lemon's problem too, is that they can't see past their hate and their partisanship, that they just end up saying and doing really dumb things, even if it is against their own livelihood.
Yeah.
Because
right.
Again, Trump is saying that he won't tax their tips. So, I mean, but you know what? Here's the deal. Those are the kind of people that while the rest of us are doing, a hell of a lot better, they can sit there and again, they can cry in their milk or just wallow in their hatred, and that's fine. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, I guess what they're wanting to do, they're looking for people to work for Doge for free. 80-hour work week and no pay.
What? Maybe they're going to start a radio station.
Come work for us.
Well done, Johnny.
No pay for an 80-hour work week. Doge applicants say, bring it on. I guess people are so excited about all this.
They can't wait.
Yeah. Wall Street Journal. It might seem unappealing to work 80 hours a week, even worse if it's for free. However, people are going to work for Doge for free. Who can do that? I don't even know who can do that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, not all of us can be Elon Musk.
But people who are retired and are looking for, they're
Good
very
point.
angry
Oh,
about
yeah.
what's going on, and they want a piece of action.
Yes, they want to go after the federal government that has been screwing them. They want to help screw the federal government like the federal government's been screwing them all this time.
Yeah.
It's about time. Poetic justice.
Hey, what time is it? So, who all is going to? I know Brian's been probably talking a lot about the fact that his party is tomorrow, Saturday, right?
Mm.
Who all is going?
I am.
You're going, JB. You going?
No, we had to skip this year.
Okay. Jury's still out on yours truly.
I was wondering about this. Yeah.
Yes, but Amy really wants to go. So
Good.
Yes.
Just
so
put a mask on and double it. Like put it on and then put another one on.
Make
and you can
Fauci
even put a
proud.
scarf around that.
I'll come in wearing a hazmat suit. Is that okay,
yeah,
Joan?
yeah, that would be great.
The 11 rudest things you can do in someone else's house, according to etiquette experts.
Oh boy.
So do you know, I'm reading through this and I'm thinking about, I love Dawn, I love Brian. So I want to say that right up front.
They're good people.
Can you imagine walking into there and starting to move things around?
No.
Because they are very particular about stuff.
Try to touch his guitars.
Yeah, right.
See if you make it out of there alive.
I tried. It's like trying to eat a piece of a steak. It just wouldn't work.
Bite your hand off.
Expecting a tour, okay? You know what's so funny? I've done all these faux pas. Expecting a tour, which is I've done.
Yeah, but they're willingly. They love to give tours.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Do you know what the one thing that I have never done?
They're great hosts, actually.
Yeah.
They are actually. I love these folks. Do you know the one thing that I've never done, which is one of those big faux pas? I have never overstayed my welcome.
Me either.
I'm always like the first to leave. And it's always like, and this is just, I mean, it's nothing against Brian and Dawn. It's just, I'm always, wherever I'm at, I want to go.
Yeah, that's me too. I want to get home.
Yeah, so I'm one guy that does not overstay my welcome, except maybe in this bit. 5:53, Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
Well, we've got some breaking news this morning. Charges have been filed now against a friend in the death of a man who was hit by several cars on I-40 earlier this month. Also, your streaming service may be costing you more very, very soon. Happy holidays, they say. Those stories coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
Well, I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
Good morning, 6:01 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It's 34 degrees now. We've got some rain headed our way for the weekend. Stick around for the forecast still to come here. There is breaking news this morning, an arrest in the death of 22-year-old Austin David, who was found along I-40 East earlier this month. David's friend, 23-year-old Logan Garver, admits now that after leaving a strip club, Garver drove drunk, crashed into a guardrail, and it caused David to be ejected. David was later hit by two other cars on I-40. Logan Garver is in jail this morning on a $103,000 bond. Well, there's new evidence that President-elect Donald Trump is working to shake things up in Washington, even his inauguration.
Donald Trump has invited Chinese President Xi to attend his inauguration next month, an unusual move. And he also plans to invite other world leaders as well. But we've just learned that Chinese President Xi is declining that invitation, though he could send another high-level official in his place.
ABC's Mary Bruce. Subscribers to some major TV services are getting price increases for the holiday season.
YouTube is once again raising the price of its TV streaming service. YouTube TV surged in popularity with its low-cost service, prompting millions to cut the cord on their cable TV packages. When it launched in 2017, a subscription ran $35 a month. It jumped to $50 by 2019, then to $73 last year, and beginning next month, it will cost $83 a month. One critic on X writing, "Congrats to YouTube TV for evolving into the very thing it swore to destroy," adding the hashtag full circle.
ABC's Andrew Dimbert reporting. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks closed lower Wednesday with the Dow Jones dropping 234 points to extend its longest daily losing streak since April. The Nasdaq Composite surrendered 0.7% to fall below 20,000. The S&P gave up 0.5%. Millions of Americans may get more from Social Security. The Senate is set to vote on a measure that would repeal two policies that limit payouts to nearly 3 million people based on their work history. Critics say it'll put even more strain on the trust fund. Your morning jolt will set you back more. Arabica coffee futures with March delivery are at their highest price in 50 years. Drought and rising temperatures in regions where coffee is grown get the blame. Wendy's, though, is serving up some savings, but you will have to use the app. The fast food chain has kicked off more than a week's worth of deals that it says can save diners more than $50 in total. The offer runs through the 22nd of December. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Stock futures pointing up with the Dow futures up 82. We've got NASDAQ futures gaining 139, and the S&P futures are plus 19. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, it's an accident this morning in Nashville. It's Gallatin Pike northbound at Edenwald Road. Also an accident blocking the right lane on 24, the westbound lanes before Briley Parkway. Watch out for that as you're traveling through. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
6:07 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends, along with Joan Jones, Johnny B, Dan Mandis here for Friday. You know, people always seem to talk about how, Joe Biden, he is going to allow for a peaceful transfer of power. You know, what would you call it if you've got Joe Biden, and one of the big stories out there today, courtesy of the Daily Wire, is that Joe Biden and the Biden administration are selling all of these wall materials that have been sitting around for the last 4 years. Donald Trump comes into office. He wants to start building the wall again. And Joe flippin' Biden is selling all of those materials for a penny on the dollar. And so I guess my question to the people on the left would be, is that what you call a peaceful transfer of power? Because it seems to me like here we are, once again, the Democrats trying to hijack an administration. Because, they did it the first time. When you talk about the Mueller investigation, when you talk about the accusations of Russia collusion, when you talk about over and over again, we saw the horrifying stories about Donald Trump, many of which proved not to be true. And we could talk about the impeachments. So every time you turned around during that first term in office, you had the Democrats doing everything they could do to derail Donald Trump. And now, here we are going into the second term in office, and this is what Joe Biden's doing. Knowing full well, and this is what is so incredibly frustrating, knowing full well that illegal immigration is one of the biggest issues that the American people voted on. One of the absolute biggest. And so to me, this is not and I'm going to air quote this here, a peaceful transfer of power, in the sense that you have Joe Biden trying to hijack one of Donald Trump's biggest issues, and that is illegal immigration. Everybody knows what Donald Trump wants to do, including build the wall. And so you have all of these people on the left, whether it is Joe Biden, his administration. We were talking about during the Gang of Three, where you've got people that work in the service industry, restaurants in Washington, D.C., who are going to sabotage when Trump administration officials want to come in and eat at their restaurant. They're going to sabotage their meals, refuse to seat them. Stop me when you've heard all of this before. And so I really, truly hope that the American people are paying real close attention. 4 years ago, I said that Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to do what the Democrats do. And they did. And here we are with another 4 years of Donald Trump. And so if this is what they're going to do, is try to hijack Donald Trump's second term in office as well, then the American people are going to continue to see what the Biden administration and the Democrats are capable of. Because the American people want the murderers and the rapists deported. They do. They want the border closed. They want reasonable, legal immigration. And they don't want bad guys coming into our country. And yeah, they want the wall built. And so Joe Biden and the Democrats, they are once again trying to hijack Trump's administration. Now, remember what Donald Trump said on Meet the Press last weekend.
Is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. It's a very tough thing to do, but you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder.
Right. I mean, it's not that hard, folks, unless you're a Democrat. Eric Adams is the exception, where yesterday, as you may or may not know, he actually met with Tom Homan, Donald Trump's incoming border czar, because Eric Adams understands all too well, as do the people of New York, the impact of illegal immigration. And so Eric Adams, a Democrat, meets with Tom Homan and Trump's immigration team and Trump's border czar. It seems like the meeting, according to Eric Adams, it did go well.
I heard from the incoming head of ICE is that we have the same desire to go after those who are committing violent acts, repeated violent acts among innocent New Yorkers and among migrants and asylum seekers. That's what I heard from him, and I was pleased to hear that because we share the same desire.
Right. I mean, one of the headlines on Fox News, it was just a few moments ago, was Eric Adams puts policy over politics. I would say he's protecting the people of New York, putting that the priority over politics. Because right now in New York, and you've heard me report this 1,000 times before, it's one of the worst cities out there in terms of crime with illegals. Latest numbers I saw, maybe you have, maybe you don't, 58,000 illegals living in New York with criminal backgrounds. Now, put another way, 75% of arrests in Midtown Manhattan are illegal aliens. New York Post reporting that as many as 75% of people around Midtown Manhattan in recent months that have been arrested for things like assault, robbery, domestic violence, well, they're immigrants. Illegal immigrants. In parts of Queens, that figure is estimated to be over 60%. In other words, I don't care how you do the numbers. The illegal aliens are the ones that are committing the crimes. And so when you see that Joe Biden is selling Donald Trump's wall parts, if you will, for pennies on the dollar, well, think about that and then think about the people that we want to deport. They say the situation in New York is exacerbated by sanctuary city laws that prevent New York police from collaborating with ICE on cases that they suspect individuals are in the country illegally. So that's why I think people, they are losing faith in America. And they're losing faith in our politicians because these are the kinds of things that they do. With Joe Biden selling Trump's wall parts for pennies on the dollar as Donald Trump is coming into office wanting to rebuild that wall. And so Trump, he's going to have to buy the wood or the concrete or the beams or whatever it is for a lot more money, and it's already been purchased. But Biden is selling it again for pennies on the dollar. 6:15, time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jay. As far as your weather for today, well, I don't have it in front of me, but I know, Johnny, you've got it in front of you. I think the highs are going to be, what, around 50 degrees or so?
That's right, Dan. It's going to be 53, and then rain Saturday through Sunday morning, and highs both days near 60.
Thank you, Johnny. I'm so out of my element, folks, because I'm broadcasting from home. I have a system at work and no system at home. So thank you, Johnny, for rescuing me. Speaking of no system, Joe Biden and illegal immigration. So this is why Eric Adams is being praised by a lot of Republicans this morning for meeting with Tom Homan and being able to say to Tom Homan, yes, I will work with you for many reasons. One of the biggest is because of the missing children of that are somewhere, theoretically, in America. These 500,000 that Eric Adams is talking about, these children that have come into our country illegally, and they've just disappeared.
We have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything to me. 500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now in this country.
You know, and that is certainly nothing to laugh at, but it's just such an amazing turnaround for Eric Adams, because remember way back when he was all about, oh yeah, New York, we're a sanctuary city, and we're welcoming to everyone, and those Republicans, they're just a bunch of racists. Remember all that? And then you had Governors DeSantis and Abbott from Florida and Texas, respectively, and they sent him a whole bunch of illegal aliens, and then it was like, oh crap, and he realized the error of his ways. I think what DeSantis and Abbott did was absolutely a game changer. It clearly was. And so now the big question is, where are these kids? Now, the administration will say, well, this is just a paperwork issue. Really? I'm not sure if I buy that one, that it is a paperwork issue. Because if you ask the administration, hey, where's that kid from Guatemala from 2.5 years ago? They would have no idea. And so the problem that we have in this country, especially as it comes to our border, is that there's so much chaos going on created by Biden, it is impossible to keep track of what's really happening in our country. News Nation and others reported that kids are being used to smuggle drugs. They're being used as decoys, so the Border Patrol is focused on these kids and the drugs get through. Or the kids are sent to sponsors. We've told you about all of this stuff. The kids are sent to sponsors here in America, but they turn out to be, the sponsors turn out to be gangbangers, not relatives, somebody who's going to traffic them. And that's why you've got Eric Adams so passionate about this. And he's putting his political career on the line. And as you can imagine, he's getting a lot of hate.
To ensure that I keep New Yorkers safe. That's my only goal. I cannot make it any clearer, and so if pursuing that goal means that my years and years of advocating for immigrants that are here attempting to find the American dream, if that demonizes me, then I'm going to take it. But I'm going to save lives in this city.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the deal. If you ask any Democrat, okay, so what will save lives in New York City? Keeping murderers and rapists in New York City or deporting them? Obviously, deporting them. That would save lives. But a lot of Democrats, they don't want to do that. They're standing in the way of Donald Trump. They're standing in the way of Tom Homan. And so for Eric Adams, he is understanding that he needs to do what he needs to do. By the way, the first town, I don't know if this was reported when I was gone or what, but first town is going to be Chicago. Chicago is the town that is going to get the attention of Tom Homan first. And I love what Tom Homan has to say about Chicago.
No, I don't, but I'll tell you this. Ever since it's been announced that I met with Mayor Adams, several other mayors, and I can't speak out. I don't want to give it up right now because I haven't called them back, but I've been in contact by a couple other mayors. Even Governor Pritzker, I saw in the paper today, he's willing to sit down. So I think what Mayor Adams did today is not only good for New York City, I think it's going to be a domino effect. I'm hoping that some of the mayors come forward after seeing the success we had today.
Well, you know what? I wonder if J.D. Pritzker will bring this up.
Chicago's in trouble because your mayor sucks and your governor sucks.
I can't play that enough. And, that is Holman doing what he should do, which is calling out the politicians that are standing in the way of what Trump wants to do. And the people voted on it.
Chicago's in trouble because your mayor sucks and your governor sucks.
And one last thing real quickly, Tom Holman wants your help. He wants to, and this is not a joke, he wants to deputize Americans to help find lost kids.
Also, as President Trump is committed, we're going to deputize every U.S. citizen in this country to help us find 340,000 missing children, because we need the public's help on this. Every mom and dad knows what it's like. They have a gut feeling when they see something out there in the public that there's something ain't right with that child. So we're going to deputize every one of them to help us find these children.
All right, 622 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up after the news at 6:35, Stephen Bucci from the Heritage Foundation is going to join us. We're going to talk about all of these drones across America and get his opinion on what is going on, not only with the drones, but also what should Donald Trump do regarding Iran and their nuclear program. It's all straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cove Generators, Dan Mandis, now is the time to call Cove Generators. This is my generator company. They're a great company. Right now, they're offering you a free 10-year warranty. That is over $1,000 value. So if you've ever wanted one of those really reliable backup home standby generators, now is the time to do it. Plus, great financing options are also now available. They are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer here in the state of Tennessee. So be prepared for the next power outage and call Cove Generators and never lose power again. 931-559-3311. 931-559-3311. And don't forget that great deal. They're offering you a free 10-year warranty. That's over $1,000 value. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 931-559-3311. 931-559-3311. You can always find them online. CoveGenerators.com. 623, Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
Well, it looks like things are looking up for Pete Hegseth. Also, is the White House trying to gaslight Americans over those drones? We've got those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Good morning. It's now 6:30. I'm Joan Jones with the latest stories. The confirmation visits by President-elect Trump's nominees, it continues on Capitol Hill, and it looks like Pete Hegseth may be gaining some ground.
What we're also hearing now is an acknowledgement from several Republican senators that they are feeling pressured by the Trump team, including Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who compared the pressure campaign a bit to what goes on around the holidays, saying, you worry you might get put on the naughty list. And look, there is a real fear among some Republicans that if they don't get in line, Donald Trump isn't someone who forgets.
That's ABC's Mary Bruce. Well, folks attending Donald Trump's inauguration in January should not expect to be treated well by restaurant workers in D.C. Fox News reports that some industry veterans, bartenders, and servers tell the Washingtonian that they will refuse service and cause other inconveniences for the incoming Trump administration when they dine out over the next 4 years, starting with the inauguration. It comes after Trump proposed eliminating taxes on tips for servers and bartenders. Well, there's nothing to see here, folks. That's how some residents in New Jersey see the response from the White House about those drones.
Amid increasing concern over drone sightings, White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says the Coast Guard has looked into it.
There is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels.
And Kirby says what people think are drones might actually be helicopters and planes.
Come on out, Mr. Kirby.
Mayor Sam Morris of Mine Hill, New Jersey, tells ABC News he saw devices hovering.
Sorry, that's not a manned small airplane. It's not a Cessna.
Lawmakers of both parties say the Biden administration should be doing more. One Democrat says the flying object should be shot down if necessary. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 6:32, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. Stop letting high-interest debt weigh you down, and you can pay it all off in days. Thanks to Loan Pronto's new Rapid Equity Loan. Listen up, homeowners. Imagine a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home's equity. No appraisals, no paperwork, and no waiting. Loan Pronto's all-new Rapid Equity Loan uses AI-driven technology to get you approved for cash out in as little as 1 day. Now, one client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their debt, launched a home improvement project, and is now saving over $1,000 a month. Instant approvals, low fixed rates, fast transfers. Get fast cash to consolidate all your debt and get a fresh start for the new year. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much you qualify for. Imagine this time next week, you could be credit card debt-free. Don't wait. Get your cash fast. Loan Pronto. Tell him Dan told you to reach out. 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. You can find them online. It's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Unapproved credit. And NMLS consumeraccess.org.
It's a crash in Nashville. It's on Gallatin Pike North at Edenwald Road. Also an accident in Glen Cliff. Now, this is westbound on 24 at the Antioch Pike overpass. It's two separate crashes. The right shoulder is blocked off. So it's two separate crashes. Police say they're in the right lane at exit number 89, 211, and 212. So a long delay stacking up there on westbound 24 this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.636, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Dan Mandis here along with Joan Jones, Johnny B., and Stephen Bucci from the Heritage Foundation is joining us. Always great to have you on, military foreign policy analyst as well. And Stephen, I got a number of things I want to talk to you about. I can't wait to hear your opinion on all of these drones. So as you know, people know, the drones have been spotted off the coast of New Jersey, Connecticut last night, California over Camp Pendleton last night as well, out there in, I think it's the Temecula area in California. And basically these drones are all over the place, and you've got some people that are saying, well, these could be, from Iran. Congressman Jeff Van Drew said that. Others are saying within the administration, no, these aren't dangerous drones, but we don't really know what they are. Stephen, where are you at on these drones?
Well, first, just from a logic standpoint, you can't say they're not a danger if you don't know what they are.
Right.
That's kind of talking to us like we're children and we just, are foolish and don't understand. So either the government leaders and the military and intelligence leaders know what they are and have determined that they're not a threat, in which case they probably ought to tell us a little more than what's going on so we have a little more comfort level that they're telling us the truth, because right now they're coming across very falsely and as opaque as they could possibly be. And two, if they don't know what they are, they need to tell us that and then take some steps to find out, to deter these things from flying in places they shouldn't be flying. The Iranian story that the one legislator gave, I think yesterday or the day before, that just doesn't ring true to me. I have seen nothing about Iran having any capability to have very large drones of the description that we've gotten from a lot of people, not just civilians on the ground, but pilots, things like that. But bottom line is the American public is not being given the information it should have to have a level of comfort in our government organizations that are supposed to be protecting us.
When you talk about a drone the size of an SUV or the size of a bus, are there, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but are there recreational drones that are that big?
If there are, I have never seen any advertised, talked about, tested by anybody in open sources. These don't appear to just be like airplane kind of drones, like the Predator or the Global Hawk that we used in the military. Those are really large size aircraft. A Predator is bigger than a Piper Cub flying around. It just doesn't have any place for anybody to sit. And a Global Hawk is way bigger than that. These appear to be either some hybrid of like a quadcopter kind of thing, because it hovers and then they move around in, very precise ways that normal winged aircraft, as opposed to a rotary kind of aircraft, could fly. I've never seen a recreational one that way. I've never seen, even in Ukraine, where they're using multiple different countries' drone technologies. The Ukrainians are getting drones from different people. The Russians are getting them from the North Koreans and the Iranians and probably the Chinese. I've never seen anything this or the size that's being described. So, like a really good picture of one of these might be helpful for the American people. We have low light technology cameras. We have thermal cameras. Why can't we fly an aircraft up near these things and at least take pictures of them to show the American people what's up there? There's a level of falsehood here that is concerning.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what, just so folks can be reminded, this is what John Kirby said yesterday.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. We have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace.
I guess part of what bothers me is that with John Kirby, he just sounds like he doesn't even want to be bothered with answering the curiosities and concerns of the American people. And this is a very unique situation because, as far as I can tell, nobody's ever really seen this kind of a thing before. And so I guess now I don't know what the next steps are. The federal government, they are the ones that if they want to shoot one of these things down, they're the ones that are allowed to do it. But, with our technology, I mean, you were talking about this, Stephen Bucci. With our technology, how is it we know that they've been in New Jersey for like at least a month, pretty much in the same places, and we can't get a photo of these things? It's just there's a lack of curiosity that has me baffled.
Yeah, and John Kirby, okay, it is Army Navy week, so excuse me, but he's a former admiral. And he talks with the disdain of a guy standing on the bridge of a ship that thinks everybody else on his vessel is a moron. And I have a problem with that, especially for your public affairs guy. He should not talk to the American people like, hey, you idiots, stop bothering us. We're doing important things. Just leave us alone. Trust us. No, I'm sorry. We don't trust you. And we'd like more evidence. I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
No, it's not an unreasonable request at all. And so I guess the next question is, as Trump comes into office, is there anything that he can do to try to pin down what's going on?
Well, yeah, he can tell them to do it. To either go up and get pictures, to chase these things down. If they're supposedly lawful aircraft, manned aircraft or otherwise, tell us who's doing it, why are they circling around neighborhoods in New Jersey, and why are they getting reports from over the Picatinny proving grounds, and now they're saying no, they're not in any restricted airspace. Does that mean we don't restrict the airspace over our military bases anymore? Yep. I don't know. It just we just need more answers, and President Trump can order these folks to go and get them. The PA guy can't look at the president and go, I'm sorry, sir, just trust us on this one. That's not the way it works.
All right, Stephen Bucci, coming up, I'm going to ask you about an article in the Wall Street Journal. They're talking about how Donald Trump is going to deal with Iran and their nuclear ambitions. Details straight ahead with Stephen Bucci at 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Mostly cloudy today and a high of 53. Rain on Saturday through Sunday morning. Highs on both days near 60. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Stephen, there's a article in the Wall Street Journal reporting that Donald Trump may be considering or is being advised with a possible preemptive strike against Iran to try to derail their nuclear ambitions. I'm pretty sure that's pretty controversial. What do you think?
Well, him being advised to have that sort of operation pre-planned, standing by with the potential participants aware that they could get the go-ahead to do that should not be controversial. People should understand that's a necessary thing. People always get kind of wigged out when they find out our military actually plans for war with potential adversaries.
Yeah.
But if you would think if they didn't do that, you'd want to fire all the leadership for being incompetent. We do that all the time. Now, if he's got, planes on the strip, engines running, and we got word they're en route to hit the targets, okay, that's news. The fact that he's being advised to plan for that, I don't think that's a big deal, Dan, really. I think those plans probably already exist. We've probably done them as far back as the Bush administration when, we found out that the Iranians were starting to do this. Now, they may have been put aside for a while under Obama and under Biden, but I think it'd be silly to think we're not going to do those kind of plans and be ready if that becomes a necessary possibility.
So
I
now
think, to be honest with you, that is once we get the intel that they've got a device that actually fits on a rocket, or they're beginning to do that preparation for a strike, the Israelis are going to hit them. Benjamin Netanyahu is not going to wait for our permission to do that. And if he thinks he needs to use, Israeli strategic weapons to do that, he's going to do that too. But I think America should have our own plans, because we may find out they're not aimed at Israel, they're aimed someplace else. And we would think it's in our vital national interest to act. Planning, you always do. Preparation, even rehearsals, you always do before the need for the operation materializes. So, I really hope that's exactly what we're doing, and we're ready to do it. And I hope we never have to use it. But,
do we know how far Iran is in their goal?
We know they're really close. They've been producing enriched uranium and I think even plutonium for bombs for quite a while. They've done most of it on the sly. They've done some of it right in front of people, telling them we don't care what you think. And that's not because Trump got out of this stupid deal. They were doing it under the deal, and everybody knows that. And they've also continued with their ballistic missile technology research and improvements, because that was never covered by the deal, and that's one of the biggest parts of it. The key now is, can they put together a device, which most of us think they probably can? Will they start doing it, and will they start doing the miniaturization process that you need to do to fit one onto a ballistic missile? You can't put a big giant one on a ballistic missile like you put on the back of a truck and drive someplace and set it off. It's a much higher level of technology to miniaturize it so it fits on a missile and can actually hit the target. We don't think they have that last part quite down yet, but we're watching. The Israelis are watching, and I don't believe they're going to be allowed to get that technology and be ready to use it without kicking off a preemptive strike against them.
All right, Stephen Bucci, always great analysis. Looking forward to speaking to you again, and have a great weekend. It is 6:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at DT McCall's Big News from DT McCall's. If you've been thinking about buying a gun safe, but you've been putting it off, now is your time, because gun safes are sales tax free at DT McCall's right now. They are the largest Liberty Safe dealer here in the state of Tennessee because of that free delivery and free setup. Now, other places are going to charge you $500 at least for free delivery, I should say for delivery and setup in bigger models, and $300 for smaller models. But at DT McCall & Sons, they deliver every safe for free every time, period. And no setup charge either. Now, security, always important these days. DT McCall's can help you. Save some big bucks right now on your Liberty gun safe when you shop at your local DT McCall's. Find them online. It's dtmccalls.com. That's dtmccalls.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com. 6:52 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news at 7. Joan, what's coming up?
Yeah, a teenager arrested for pointing a laser at an aircraft near the Nashville airport. And in New York, it wasn't lasers, but birds that nearly did a flight in. Yeah, we've got those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:55, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, did you hear the news that Trump wants to, he's thinking about it, pardon the J6ers 9 minutes into his second term. Now, I'm going to get into this a lot deeper coming up after the news at 7. But this triggered Caitlin Collins over there on CNN. She was asking, can he actually do this?
Just on the pardoning within 9 minutes, is that even possible? I mean, what does that process actually look like?
Evan Perez.
It is possible. I mean, what they can do is they can have his lawyers, the incoming White House lawyers, draft the pardons, the proclamation, essentially, and have it take effect when he takes the oath of office. So it can happen within minutes. I mean, we've had it happen before, you know, where Jimmy Carter, for instance, on his first full day of office, so the 21st, he pardoned the thousands of people who had evaded the draft. So during the Vietnam War. So there is precedent for doing something like that. And obviously in this case, you know, the incoming president has made all kinds of different statements about who exactly would be qualified. He's mentioned, as you said, as broad as possible, but also said that maybe he'll start with some of the nonviolent offenders.
There you go. By the way, as you know, the Inspector General report on the FBI's involvement regarding J6 came out yesterday. Details and perspective straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got your forecast and traffic just ahead. Metro Nashville police have taken a 23-year-old man into custody and charged him in the death of his friend. Now, this is the case of Austin David, whose body was found along I-40 earlier this month. Reportedly, David and his friend Logan Garver argued on their way home from a strip club earlier this month before David's death. Here's Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac.
Police say there's video of both of them entering and leaving a club before the crash. Garver can be seen stumbling in the parking lot before getting behind the wheel. His truck was found days later, badly damaged and partially covered by a tarp.
Now, police believe that Garver hit a guardrail, ejecting David from the passenger seat of his truck. And David was then struck by several cars. Garver was arrested this morning, and he's jailed now on a $103,000 bond. An 18-year-old has been arrested for shooting a laser at an airplane and a helicopter near Nashville International Airport. This happened last night about 9:45 when a pilot advised the control tower that his aircraft was hit first, and then investigators determined that it came from the Neely's Bend neighborhood in Madison. Then a Metro helicopter went up, and it was hit, too. Police were able to pinpoint the area on a home at Cumberland Station Boulevard. That's where Destin Wyndham and a group of his friends were gathered in the backyard. Wyndham turned over the laser to police. He was booked into jail and released on $20,000 bond. The upcoming update for iPhones, iPad, and Macs is going to integrate ChatGPT with Siri. Apple says that means when you ask Siri a complicated question, Siri will ask you permission to access AI, and they say it'll never store your requests. Users don't need an OpenAI account, but you can pay for an upgrade if you'd like. You can look for that update. It's 18.2. And finally, a disturbing sense of deja vu last night in New York when a crew aboard an American Airlines jet bound for Charlotte, North Carolina, declared an emergency.
On January 15th, 2009, a U.S. Airways jet departing New York's LaGuardia Airport hit a flock of birds, lost both engines, and landed in the Hudson River. Last night, American Airlines Flight 1722 had just taken off from LaGuardia when the crew radioed controllers.
We're still kind of working through to figure out what's going on. We hit birds on the way out.
The audio from liveatc.net. Unlike U.S. Airways Flight 1549, American 1722 lost only the right engine, was redirected to JFK, and landed safely. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Must have been pretty scary, though. Stock futures this morning, they're up. The Dow futures are gaining 64. We've got NASDAQ futures up 175 points. The S&P futures, they're up by 22. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Looks like there are some delays on 24 this morning. There have been a couple of accidents in the area between Old Hickory Boulevard and Briley Parkway. Those accidents were pushed off to the shoulder, but they are causing some delays. You'll be tapping the brakes all the way along. And delays, too, at the merge of I-40 and I-24 as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Joe Jones is here as well. Johnny B, Dan here. Glad to be back. So I wasn't really surprised when the Inspector General report came out yesterday on the FBI's involvement regarding January 6th. And lo and behold, yes, the FBI did have some people in the crowd that day. I know that you weren't surprised as well. We've all been saying this for a long time. And it turns out that, yes, the FBI had a total of 26. 26 people that were working for the FBI right there on the grounds of the Capitol. 3 of those were authorized to be in the crowd by the FBI, and this is part of the news alert from Fox News as it all played out yesterday.
3 of those were authorized and tasked by the FBI to be there on January 6, 2021. We're coming up on 4 years since that day of the Capitol riot. This IG report specifically focuses on the FBI's handling of confidential human sources, or as we know them, FBI informants. For years, the outgoing FBI director, Chris Wray, has been pressed on reports of undercover agents. According to this new report, there were no undercover FBI agents. However, there were 3 confidential human sources tasked by the Bureau to be in the crowd on January 6th to specifically watch what the report states is concerns over domestic terrorism.
So the FBI has all of these informants in the crowd, and if I'm understanding this whole thing correctly, the FBI assigned 3, and the other 23, they were on their own, just, I guess, observing, checking things out, and with their associates. Now, remember, a confidential human source is a little different than an agent, per se, of the FBI, because a confidential human source is somebody that is in one of these groups. Like, for example, you can talk about Antifa, you could talk about the Proud Boys, whatever. But one of those guys, let's just say he gets busted for whatever it is, and they get arrested. And so now they're looking at having to go to jail. Well, here comes the FBI. And the FBI says, well, you know what? You can either spend a bunch of years in jail or you can become an informant for us and give us an insight into what your group, your organization, your friends are going to be doing. And that's the kind of confidential human sources that were there at the Capitol that day.
Out of those 3, 1 entered the Capitol, 2 others entered a restricted area. The report says the FBI did not encourage or authorize any sources to go into the building or a restricted area. In addition to the 3 confidential human sources, the FBI told there were 23 that were there on their own. Now, they had worked with the FBI in the past on other cases, but not specifically on the January 6th rally. Some of them entered a restricted area as well. And what stands out in this report, none of the confidential human sources that entered the U.S. Capitol or a restricted area were prosecuted by the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. Remember, this is an office that is still arresting nearly 4 years later and prosecuting people with this case.
So no actual undercover agents, they say. But yes, these informants, some of whom went into restricted areas, and you just heard they were never charged. So why is that? Why were they never charged? because you got 1,500 other people who were charged, and these that had ties to the FBI were not. Now, all across the media in the last 24 hours, or when this thing came out, the headlines were that the conspiracy theorists were wrong and that there were no undercover agents. And that was the screaming headline, because the conspiracy theorists were all saying, well, there were undercover agents there. Okay. That is actually a fraction of the story, because the FBI actually had undercover human sources there on site. Agents, of course, are employed by the FBI, but these informants, they're, again, basically people who infiltrate various groups, and they're snitch. They snitch. They're like spies. So now the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, because the FBI is desperately trying to contain this. And so now part of what's going on is the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office says that, generally speaking, they didn't charge anyone for simply going into restricted areas. They had to have committed other crimes to be charged. Well, number one, they said, generally speaking. And number two, okay, well then let's look at all of these confidential human sources and see exactly what they did. It seems a little suspicious to me that they didn't charge one of those guys. They do point out in one of the stories that I read that these confidential human sources are basically, again, spies who are part of these various organizations like the Proud Boys and so forth, and they're recruited by the FBI to become informants. And so, again, not to belabor the point, but my question would be this. If they were there, you had 3 that were authorized and 23 not authorized to be there, and these FBI spies went into restricted areas, why were they not charged? And I wonder if one of the reasons why they weren't charged was because they didn't want to be tied to the FBI, or the FBI didn't want them to be charged because they didn't want it to come out that they were these confidential human sources via the FBI, because that would obviously look bad. But remember what I said a minute ago. Generally speaking, January 6ers, J6ers, were not charged if that was their only crime, supposedly. Carrie Urban is a legal analyst from Fox News, and she raises a really good point on this.
But if you remember, anyone who even raised the possibility that there were paid FBI spies part of what happened, who were part of what happened on January 6th, they were deemed crazy, conspiracy theorists, and the like. Now, look, confidential human sources are a law enforcement tool that are used in all kinds of situations, and we know that some of these people were apparently part of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. But again, why so many? What were they doing? What were the conversations they were having? And if they were, in fact, according to the IG and the FBI, not authorized to be there, then why weren't they prosecuted like everybody else who were prosecuted for similar issues?
Right. I mean, you've got all of these informants within the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers or whatever. And the question is going to be, what if they encouraged others to go in? And that's important because that's a part of the defense of some of these J6ers. Details straight ahead. 7:15, time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jay. Mostly cloudy today and a high of 53. Rain on Saturday through Sunday morning. Highs both days near 60. Right now, 35. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And that is the question. All these confidential human sources that are tied to the FBI, they're on the Capitol grounds. They went into the restricted areas, but they were never charged. And the FBI never admitted, nor did they ever plan to admit, that they had these confidential human sources. Now, my question is, what if those, human sources within, the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, what if they as they're tied to the FBI, encouraged others to go in. And then those others were arrested, and ultimately they were charged. And you know what's been going on with the J6ers. A lot of these folks overcharged. A lot of these people seriously mistreated in prison. You all know the stories. But these are questions that everyone has had for years. And so there may not have been any actual undercover agents that were trying to create what happened. But on a more micro level, you got some guys on the government payroll maybe encouraging this kind of behavior, and none were charged. And so it does look rather suspicious.
The questions are, what were those confidential human sources who were, quote, not encouraged or directed to be there by the FBI? What were they saying to the other people in their groups? And the reason I keep raising that is because if, in fact, there were conversations occurring like, hey, let's go in there, let's do that, let's do this. Entrapment is a defense.
Yep.
If a government agent induces you to commit a crime, a defendant can raise that in the court of law and say, look, I was trapped into doing something. I was enticed into doing something by the government I otherwise wouldn't have done. Now, the government's response based on this report would probably be, well, they weren't authorized by the government to be there at the time. But then, of course, a question for a judge would be, well, could they have been perceived still as an agent of the government, given that they were, this confidential human source? What did the defendant know about them and their role at the time? I just think this report raises more questions, but certainly at a minimum, gives some credibility to people who have been saying this for so many years.
Right. We've been all saying this for a lot of years. Again, that's legal analyst Carrie Urban with Fox News. And, if you keep asking the right questions, spies were there, most not authorized. Did they encourage the behavior? They were not on the payroll. So then why were they not charged? Right? But they were on the payroll, so they should have been charged. Either way, they should have been charged. If they did what others did, then they should have been charged. So why were they not? That's the big question. And the feds could say, well, it's because they didn't do anything else wrong. All they did was they went into these restricted areas. Well, Jonathan Turley, of course, y'all know he's a big favorite of mine, George Washington University law professor and constitutional scholar, and he does agree that this leads to a lot of questions.
Well, in some ways, it raises more questions than answers. It does support Ray's testimony that there were no undercover agents in the crowd. I think that for others, there's going to be a lot of concern as to what these sources were doing there. Only 3 of them were told to be there. The question is really these other people. We've had cases in the past where the defense has argued that sources and agents have been extremely active in pushing people towards criminal conduct. We saw those allegations raised in the Michigan case involving the governor there. And I think that some defense attorneys may raise the question as why they weren't told, if they weren't told, about these confidential sources that might have been involved tangentially with their own cases. Because usually defense counsel says, we want to know what assets, what personnel the government had there. So there's going to be questions of that kind that arise. The treatment of these sources are also going to be a subject of continued debate. This is the department that had someone announce they were going to do a shock and awe. They were going to go after everyone they could to deter future misconduct.
Well, clearly they didn't. And now, of course, as you know, Christopher Wray has stepped down. No, I don't believe that him stepping down is going to absolve him of whatever crimes he may have committed. I mean, remember this. This has been all over the place. Lawmaker Clay Higgins and Christopher Wray on these confidential human sources, and Wray seems to me flat out lied.
Does the FBI have confidential human sources? Did the FBI have confidential human sources embedded within the January 6th protesters on January 6th of 2021?
Now, according to the IG, 3 were assigned, and another 23 with connections to the FBI as confidential human sources were also on site. That's what the IG says. This is what Christopher Wray said back when.
Well, Congressman, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I have to be very careful about what I can say about when
Even now, because that's what you told us 2 years ago.
May I finish? About when we do and do not, and where we have and have not used confidential human sources. But to the extent that there's a suggestion, for example, that the FBI's confidential human sources or FBI employees in some way instigated or orchestrated January 6th, that's categorically false.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's
time
has expired. You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Wray,
confidential human
gentleman's time has expired.
So there you go. So now Christopher Wray has a lot of questions to answer. And by the way, that lawmaker, Clay Higgins, absolutely trolling Christopher Wray, basically telling him, don't leave town. So that's going to be one of those stories that is going to continue to develop. By the way, Donald Trump, again, just to close it out, Donald Trump has been saying, and there have been indications, that he could end up pardoning all the J6ers, or many of them, the first 9 minutes into his administration.
What's going to take him so long?
Yeah, it's like it should be 9 seconds.
Yeah.
Joan Jones, what's coming up?
Well, prosecutors in Manhattan take some new steps in the case against Luigi Maggione. Also, a local DA has removed himself from a murder case after he was accused of secretly recording conversations. Those stories coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
If your family is obsessed with Wicked, then you're probably wondering how much streaming and memeing your internet can handle your kid's next Wicked-themed sleepover. Well, Xfinity's internet is powerful enough to handle hundreds of devices, so you can get a magical connection with fast speeds and amazing power, even when everyone is online at the sleepover. With Wi-Fi that is truly thrillifying, one might even say that Xfinity's engineers are secretly wizards themselves. Now through December 22nd, incredibly fast 150 megabit Xfinity internet for just $35 a month for 12 months with no annual contract, and free Wi-Fi equipment is included. Plus, learn how to get a free 5G phone with Xfinity Mobile. Go to Xfinity.com to learn more and keep the magic going from your screen to the big screen and see Wicked in theaters. Now, restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Currently $54 a month for internet service and $15 for Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary and are not guaranteed.
Good morning. It's 7:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Mostly cloudy. It's 35 right now, and we do have some rain headed our way for the weekend. The details in the forecast still to come here. In the case against suspected shooter Luigi Mangione, prosecutors in New York are taking a new step now to build their case against him in the murder of a health insurance CEO.
Sources tell ABC News prosecutors in New York are now presenting evidence to a grand jury as they work to secure an indictment against Luigi Mangione. An indictment would strengthen the case for extradition to New York, which Mangione is fighting. He's behind bars in a Pennsylvania cell, charged in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione, an Ivy League graduate from a prominent real estate family, allegedly wrote about his criticism of corporate America and the U.S. healthcare system. But the NYPD says there's no indication Mangione was ever a client of United Healthcare.
That's ABC's Andrew Dimbert reporting. The Davidson County District Attorney is removing himself from a murder trial after accusations that he secretly recorded conversations. Lawyers for Calvin Atchison accuse Glenn Funk of recording their private conversations when they visited Funk's office to review evidence. Atchison is accused in a 20-year-old murder case. Well, now Funk filed a new motion naming nearby DA Robert Nash, who serves in Clarksville, as the new special prosecutor in that case. Looks like big tech companies are hoping to improve their relationship with President-elect Donald Trump. Jeff Bezos' Amazon says it'll donate $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund. And Bezos plans to visit Mar-a-Lago next week. It comes after Mark Zuckerberg's Meta also pledged to $1 million to the inauguration fund. Well, market numbers here brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We've got Dow futures gaining 59 right now. The NASDAQ futures are plus 183. The S&P futures are up 23 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Dan Mandis here, and I want to tell you about a Nashville institution. Nashville Tent and Awning, a trusted name since 1884. Now, look, they've worked with the top companies in Nashville, but they do so much more than just tent and awnings. How about a permanent or rental enclosure for your patio? With the winter months already here, an enclosure is the perfect way to extend your outdoor living space and keep cozy while enjoying your backyard here in the cold. If you have a private event or maybe a wedding coming up and you need a fancy tent or any kind of an enclosure, they can make it look spectacular. Any size as well. They're very flexible in what they can do for you. They can also do industrial events and have worked with the Titans, Vanderbilt, and the Grand Ole Opry, to name just a few. Now, what can they do for you? Whether it's a tent or an enclosure for an event on site or your home. Amazing awnings for anywhere. Check them out today. Nashville Tent and Awning, NTACO.com, 615-329-3701, NTACO.com, 615-329-3701. Solid craftsmanship built to last since 1884. Nashville Tent and Awning.
Okay, 24, make that westbound lanes right at I-40. That's exit 74. There's a crash and it's blocking off the right shoulder there. And then 40 westbound before Elm Hill Pike overpass. That's a crash that is blocking the left shoulder. And a crash involving injuries. It's Hobson Pike at Smith Springs Parkway. Be careful there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.736, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Along with Joan Jones, Johnny B, Dan Mandis, so glad to be back. Jennifer Sheets is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Master of the Workforce, Sundays at 11 here on WTN. And also my source for all things artificial intelligence. Jennifer, how are you?
Great. I'm just so happy to hear you and your voice, and that maybe you're on the mend here now, so glad to have you back.
Thank you very much. It's been a rough couple of days. Let's talk about artificial intelligence, because one of the things that, I read about this all the time, but one of my concerns is regulation of AI by the government, in the sense that there are concerns that the government could harness artificial intelligence in a way that they're able to control the narrative of certain stories, or maybe they can hide things from Google searches, for example. One of the worries that I've read about and I've heard people talk about is they can use AI to either put forward a narrative or bury a story as people search for it online. Is there a big worry about that?
There's a huge worry about that, and a lot of people don't realize that there was just, I think it was in September, there were 9 bills passed in our legislature that have to do with the controlling of AI. And what's really crazy is that we go back and we wonder what is AI and understanding it. And the whole thing is it's dependent upon the information that the developers that use that platform, where they have these limited language models and stuff that they use, whatever they put in there, that's what the information is that it's discerning and spitting out when we're asking questions. So obviously it has bias and anything built into it depending on what the developer itself puts in. And so now they have the ITIC, which is it's like an international community. It's a tech information technology institute committee or whatever that does oversight all over the world to try and help every country be able to, kind of see the worries or stop something before it happens. But it's only as good as what the developer puts in it.
So I want to give you an example, or for instance, or what if. So let's just say, because we all know what happened during COVID, right? What happened during COVID was conservatives were censored. And so if you had concerns about the lockdowns or the efficacy of masks or side effects of vaccines, then you were censored on social media and so forth.
Yeah.
But in this case with artificial intelligence, it actually goes beyond that, where if you're at home and you're Googling, I don't know, efficacy of masks, right? Do they actually work? And if the government has an agenda, if the government wants the American people to think, yes, masks work, then they can use artificial intelligence to manipulate those search results. And so if somebody's looking for information, the government is now controlling the information through AI.
Without a doubt. It's okay. So like I was talking about the Information Technology Industry Council, the name escaped me for a second, but I tell you that. Because they the government will always be involved. There are certain, I guess, representatives that the ITIC, which is used by all the governments to, decide what developers are going to put the information in for AI, that they're deciding what should have oversight or not. They're getting their campaigns contributed to by this organization. And so whatever their agenda is, so it just so happens that in the 2024 election cycle, they made contributions to various members in Congress, which was including 2 Republicans, 3 Democrats. One of the gentlemen by the name of Jay Abernathy, who's out of California, he's a graduate of Caltech, but get this, he has a Master's of Science degree in Artificial Intelligence from 1997. So if you don't think that the government is loading up who the oversight committees are, so it goes so deep, because yes, they can shift that narrative, exactly what you said, Dan, depending on what company that they use. And a lot of these members of the ITIC are the Amazons, IBM. I mean, you can look them up. If you go to itic.org, it's a pretty amazing site to go look up, and you'll see what's going on, and then who they're leaning on, these governments are leaning on for their information to kind of they're trying to say that they're trying to police it and help us with it, but at the same time, these are individuals that they're calling on to help make decisions and relying on their decision making that have agendas.
Jennifer Sheets is joining us, and Jennifer, one of the other things that I look at is China and how they are actually using artificial intelligence, but they use it to make sure that people's search results and their internet results all conform to China's government's view of socialism or communism. So the problem that we have in this country is that the technology seems to already be there, and it seems to me like it's just a matter of time before a government, which we simply cannot trust our own government, ultimately uses AI to put forward their own narrative on stories. And is there a way to combat this from a news consumer standpoint if it ends up getting as bad as we think it might?
I think that it's going to become, everyone's going to be like their own little reporter, investigative reporter, because the only information that an AI can use is what's inputted. I know that I keep saying that, but it's important to say it over and over again, because it's only as accurate as what is out there. So, one of the things that kept us getting Trump into office and kept us moving into a different place was because we were all talking in different channels. We were all talking on different social media networks. We were discussing and comparing, well, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. And really what it's going to boil down to is it's going to be the human factor that's not affiliated with a government that's going to have to kind of police it. The thing of it is, you can't be subservient to it. I think it's creating a generation of laziness. It's so easy. And believe me, going into ChatGPT and writing a letter or, a LinkedIn message or something to someone can seem real easy because it tightens it up and makes it real nice. It's one thing to use it for a tool to make life faster in that sense, but it's another thing to have it make decisions for you. You have to understand where the information's coming from. And so I think all of us together need to fact check everything that goes on at all times, because there's definitely an agenda. And you are right. There are people being, paid behind the scenes. There are people involved in councils that the governments are relying on, that there are agendas in those organizations. And so we have to be really careful.
Yeah, and we've got, already we've got manipulation of algorithms and so forth and keywords and all that. But I mean, AI, it's going to take it to a completely different level. And AI, of course, is now really beginning to control a lot of different aspects of our lives. Just the other day, we learned the assassination of that CEO for United Healthcare. Well, part of that story was they were using AI illegally, it would appear, to deny people claims and benefits. And so that has become a major part of that story. I didn't even realize companies could do that, but I guess what was happening is people are, either typing into chat boxes or whatever, and United Healthcare was illegally using AI to deny people. How prevalent is that these days, do you think?
This is what I have been on my soapbox about. I talk about it on my show that I have on Sundays in my podcast. I wrote a book about it a couple years ago called Human Capital Lifeline, and it's everywhere. And matter of fact, it is the most discriminating thing, and it's a very veiled process. It's a way for people to discriminate in ways that you can't imagine. It's not just age, race, sex, religion. I might give you an example, and I've heard people that listen to my show have heard me talk about this before. You could fill out an application, fill out paperwork, and people that put 2 spaces behind a period, if I'm a company that wants to program that as a screening out method, I program that in. But do you know what that means? It usually means that you're older, because people learn how to type on a typewriter, and the keystrokes, they taught you how to put 2 spaces afterwards. So most of the time, that if I program it to search that and I build it to do that, it's going to take out anybody over a certain age that I don't want to have for that job, that role, and that goes for anything, just like with the United Healthcare. So I see it constantly where people are using that as a tool to, they don't get seen, they just type in, this is what I want to, weed out or screen out, no matter what, or what I'm looking for. You can use it as search terms of what to look for, and as long as you've programmed your system to recognize that, that's what it'll do for you. And then you're just hiding behind it, and it's just giving information, and you can just say, yep, I just used that, and that's what it gave me, and that's how I made my determinations. And really, it's much more sinister than that.
Much more sinister. Jennifer Sheets, you can find out more about Jennifer, Master of the Workforce, Sundays at 11 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jennifer, thank you as always. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jay. Mostly cloudy today, a high of 53. Rain on Saturday through Sunday morning. Highs both days near 60. Right now, 35. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so a number of things going on this morning. First of all, we found out that the Biden administration is selling off the remaining parts of the wall that were yet to be utilized in the building of the wall, because when Biden came in, of course, all of that stopped. And so they had sections of the wall and parts of the wall and so forth. Well, now the Biden administration has decided, in its infinite wisdom, as they do everything they can to block Donald Trump from doing what he needs to do to satisfy those campaign promises, he is selling those for pennies on the dollar to delay Donald Trump being able to build the wall, because now he's going to have to go back and he's going to get more funding for the wall. He's going to have to order all of the parts and the sections and all that other stuff. And so this is only going to prolong the building of the wall, and Joe Biden is doing it purposely. Now, we talked about this earlier. Biden has always been saying, and the Democrats are always saying, well, this is going to be a peaceful transfer of power. And I guess my question continues to be, what is peaceful about a current president knowing that the president that is coming in after him, he made a promise, Donald Trump made a promise to finish building the wall, among many other things. And Joe Biden, the current president, is actively trying to stop that. That doesn't really sound like a peaceful transition of power. Now, Dan Patrick is the lieutenant governor out there in Texas, and he was being interviewed on Fox News, and he started talking about when he found out that Joe Biden was actually doing this, selling off what is left of Donald Trump's wall.
They're despicable in what they're doing to the American people, and the American people obviously aren't going to tolerate it. That's why they were thrown out. But the idea, we've been trying to buy this wall from them for 4 years, and they wouldn't sell it to us. And you know what? I'm going to check in with our Department of Public Safety. Maybe we need to start pulling over these trucks to be sure they don't have too much weight on those trucks. Maybe these trucks need to be slowed down. We need to do everything we can in Texas to stop them. The taxpayers paid for this, and they want to stop President Trump in 38 or 39 days from rebuilding the wall.
And did you hear what he said? By the way, again, that's Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas. They've been trying to buy the parts of this wall. They've been trying to buy the remaining parts of these walls so that they could build it themselves, I'm assuming, on Texas land. And the Biden administration would not simply sell them these parts.
The legacy of Joe Biden. He lets off his son. He's letting off all these criminals. He's doing everything he can with these blue state governors and mayors to destroy this country. They are traitors to this country, leaving terrorists, leaving murderers, leaving rapists in this country, and now he wants to sabotage this president before he takes off. It is disgraceful and disgusting. He will go down as the worst, most despicable president in the history of this country because no one has done more to damage this country and hurt American citizens.
I would agree with you on that.
And I would agree as well, Laura Ingraham. And there's so much more to this story. We'll continue to cover it throughout the day right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Dan Mandis here, and I've been a Beehive member for years, so I can tell you from personal experience that this is the best HVAC company out there. How good are they? Well, every month they have new ways to save you money. Now, they've decided to extend that massive special. They've got a limited number of 14 SEER 1 and 1.5 to 3 ton split heat pumps for only $6,995. A great deal from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They're also offering a $69 mainline camera inspection to make sure that your drain pipes are cleaned out and in good condition. So many ways to help you save. That's Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They are your Rude Pro partner. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. You can always find them online. BusyBeeHVAC.com. It is 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news at 8?
Well, Dan will tell you what some residents say they're going to do about those drones flying over their New Jersey and New York homes. Also, stealing from the Boy Scouts. Yeah, what some thieves did to a local fundraiser for the boys. Those stories coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird that's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
7:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurd is going to be joining us after the news at 8 o'clock right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And the Super Text line, Joan, is alive and well. I'm not sure if you've been following it this morning, but 1323 talking about Biden selling the materials for the wall.
Yeah.
Biden is peeing on the carpet on his way out.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it.
That's exactly what he's doing. Armchair PD says peaceful means nonviolent. You can still be spiteful and do it peacefully. See, and I had this whole thing on the overnight show last night where we're talking about treason and what exactly is treason? Because, and I'm not saying that Joe Biden is, needs to go out and be shot, but I am saying that when all the Democrats have been doing for the last 4 years or 8 years, they interfered with Donald Trump's first term in office, and now this is what they're trying to do for his second term in office. It's the same thing.
Treason.
They're trying to handicap the man.
Yeah, treason, by the way, is described as the act of attempting to overthrow a country's government or aiding its enemies in war. It can also mean the betrayal or trust or treachery. This could fall in. It could also mean the betrayal of a trust or treachery.
The betrayal of a trust. I mean, that is what Biden has done to a T, right?
I would think so.
I would think so too. Johnny, you agree? Johnny agrees.
He's shaking his head, yes.
Okay, fine. 7:50. Johnny's having to deal with me at home. We love you, Johnny. 7:57. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey there, it's 8 o'clock on the nose, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Stick around for the full forecast. We're at 35 now, but we've got some rain on the way for your weekend. The forecast and traffic still to come after the news. Well, if they won't take care of it, some Northeast residents say they will take the drones flying over the state in their own hands. Protest postings make that in a Facebook group dedicated to solving the drone mystery. Now shows some people will take their shotguns out tonight and attempt to shoot down the aircraft that are flying above their homes. Meantime, New York and New Jersey senators are demanding federal agencies brief them immediately.
The White House, FBI, and Homeland Security downplaying any potential threat to public safety or national security. The Biden administration saying it has no evidence that these aircraft were sent by a foreign adversary.
That's ABC's Ariel Reshef, who also reports on Expert, tells ABC News that the fact that these aircraft have flown freely near sensitive areas may indicate that they are not foreign and that the military is aware. Just crossing the wires this morning, prosecutors in Texas are seeking the death penalty for the two illegal immigrants from Venezuela accused in the killing of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nunguri in June. Franklin Pena and Johan Martinez Rengel are charged with kidnapping, raping, and murdering the little girl and leaving her body under a bridge. What's this sound like? What's the sound of big rig flatbed trucks transporting unused border wall material from the Arizona border? The Daily Wire has that exclusive report this morning with video that shows the materials are being hauled off to a government auction site called GovPlanet, where bidding for an entire segment of wall starts at $5. Daily Wire says that the Biden administration is doing this in an effort to hinder President-elect Trump's effort to secure the border. And the Murfreesboro Boy Scout troop selling Christmas trees at a local church says somebody has ripped them off. Boy Scout Troop 197 said somebody came in the middle of the night on Sunday, disabled security cameras, and stole 98 of their trees. Now, the troop's leader said that area tree lots have reached out to help them, and the Boy Scouts have taken extra measures now to secure the trees that they do have left. The troop raises money every year by selling Christmas trees at the Fellowship United Methodist Church lot on New Salem Highway. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. Joan Jones, WTN News. It is an accident this morning. Nippers Corner at Old Hickory Boulevard. This is in the westbound lanes at Edmondson Pike. It's been reported by police there. Downtown, a crash at Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard at Representative John Lewis Way. A crash involving injuries, Hobson Pike in Priest Lake at Smith Springs Parkway. And then on the westbound lanes of I-40 at Elm Hill Pike overpass, a crash blocks off the left shoulder, and police are telling us that's two separate crashes. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into the last hour, 8 o'clock hour of Nashville's Morning News for your Friday the 13th. That's right. Hasn't been that train wrecky of a show, although the stage was set. Want to welcome on into the program Matthew Hurt, who is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Matthew, always great to have you on. Hope you are doing well, and appreciate you coming on. My voice is hanging by a thread, Matthew. I know that you haven't been on with me in a couple of days. I've been out sick for the last couple of days, and so I'm just trying to get my way through the last hour here, so appreciate you joining the conversation. So let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, I know that you couldn't have been surprised at the dropping of the IG report related to January 6th and finding out that the FBI did indeed have some sources, some confidential sources on scene at the Capitol.
Well, Dan, as someone who has been in the report of confidential sources of the FBI, that is me, I am not surprised. This city is crawling with people who provide supplemental intelligence to three-letter agencies. And from all the video that we saw, from all the tweets from Congressman Thomas Massey from Northern Kentucky, who really highlighted a lot of this during the January 6th sort of sham commission. This is not a surprise to me, and it should not be a surprise to the American people. The government, the federal government, state-level government, local government frequently uses our friends in law enforcement to monitor the actions of otherwise peaceful people.
One of the things that I, of course, noticed, everybody is noticing this, is that Christopher Wray decided that he was going to resign on the same day that this came out. I don't think that was a coincidence, of course. What say you?
I don't think it was a coincidence, but this speaks to a broader element of Donald Trump's negotiating tactics. When he talks about tariffs, I'm not a big fan of tariffs, but when he talks about tariffs, he's using them as a negotiating tactic. When he talked about Christopher Wray and the FBI, he was signaling a position that he was moving toward, and that problem seemed to have resolved itself. Christopher Wray made himself available to the industry, and this is something that the timing certainly raises questions. I hope that Republicans in Congress take a look at this and do some serious investigation on this element of the deep state. These individuals who swear an oath to the Constitution in execution of their duties and then use their leverage against the American people. It's absolutely unconscionable, and the timing is funny on this, and I hope our friends in Congress get to the bottom of it.
What do you think the reaction is going to be in Washington, D.C. if Donald Trump actually does pardon the J6ers, whether it's all of them, whether it's some of them, whether it's most of them, but if he does it within 9 minutes of taking the oath of office?
Well, heads will explode on the streets of Washington, D.C. Look, I know a young man who went to a very respected college in the South and wound up in the Capitol on January 6th. He described the situation to me as the police were holding the door open. He wandered in to find a friend, and then he got smacked with a misdemeanor that ended up upending his life for a period of time. These are people who wanted to express their view on an election. Many of them were there, part of the crowd. Were some people engaged in activity that was unlawful and dangerous? Yes. That is what I believe. We see it in some of the video footage, but many people were there because they wanted to express support for Donald Trump, and it felt like a rally, and then they moved with the crowd. And those individuals, I think, should be their slate should be wiped clean, and they should be allowed to go about their lives.
Matthew, joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline, Dan Mandis here on Super Talk 99.7. Matthew, in the news today, you have Joe Biden selling off materials, leftover materials from Donald Trump's wall for pennies on the dollar. So obviously that is going to prevent Donald Trump from instantly starting to go ahead and continue building the wall. And, we talk about these peaceful transitions of power, and I understand that, nobody wants violence and so forth. But how would you characterize what Joe Biden is doing? Because to me, it seems like this is just another way that the left is trying to hinder what Donald Trump wants to do, which is protect our border, which is one of the main issues in the election of 2024.
Joe Biden is a petty president. We saw it a couple of weeks ago with the action that he allowed Ukraine to increase its incursion and activity with Russia. We see this. Anybody who's in construction knows that it costs more to build a house this year than it did 2 years ago or 6 years ago. And when you sell these raw materials for pennies on the dollar, and then the incoming president continues the policy of building the wall, he is going to have to pay. By that I mean the taxpayers are going to have to pay more. So not only is this thumbing the nose at the Trump agenda, it's also thumbing the nose at the American taxpayer, who are going to end up paying millions, if not billions more, for a project that the American people agreed to 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and we're going to continue under the incoming administration. It's petty at great expense to the American taxpayer.
So because you live in D.C., I thought you would find this story particularly interesting. D.C. food workers vowing Donald Trump officials will not feel welcomed when dining out in the nation's capital. So you have all of these, food workers, people that work in restaurants and so forth. And basically what they're saying is that they will either refuse service and cause other inconveniences for members of the incoming Trump administration when they dine out over the next 4 years in the nation's capital, which is kind of bizarre because Trump is literally the one that says that he will not tax tips.
We've already seen this. There was a place in D.C. called Political Patties, owned by two black entrepreneurs, and all they wanted to do was have political discussions. They had an elephant and a donkey on the wall outside their bar, and the place is closed down now because of the petty nature of D.C. residents and the political atmosphere here. I think that people should. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was a victim of this in Virginia when she served in the Trump administration, and this is a level of pettiness. The American people, oftentimes, we vote at the ballot and we vote with our dollars. We vote by supporting businesses that we like, and it would make sense now. Those Trump administration officials who want to have dinner in Washington, D.C., just come across the river to Virginia or to Maryland and find a hospitable place. But this is something that if this goes on for 4 years, it is going to be tiring here, and a lot of service industry people who are caught in the crossfire are going to be victims of the political pettiness that the left is going to express in D.C.
Well, and the interesting thing is you've used the word petty a couple of different times now, and it really does describe to T the Democrat Party, because that is, it's like a lot of the stories that we have today, it's part of the petty nature of the Democrats. And so for Donald Trump, he is looking like it as he gets ready to start his second term. He is looking very good. That is Donald Trump yesterday. That is Donald Trump yesterday ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. And so you have that. You have him, the Time Magazine Person of the Year. And, of course, the left of their heads are exploding at that one. But I think this shows you that this is a president-elect that has the wind in his sails heading into January 20th.
There's a theme that I've seen play out across the culture, and Joe Rogan has mentioned it on almost every episode of his podcast since the election. There's an optimism that people feel, and it is permeating not just the political class, but the culture, the people who don't pay attention, who may have gone in to vote for Donald Trump or may have been undecided up until Election Day. And the people who are not paying that much attention also feel that optimism. There's an optimism, there's an opportunity. Donald Trump is much better positioned this time around than in 2016 and 2017 when we had mass protests and all of that took place in the wake of his election. This is a different time in American politics, the American people feel differently about it, and there's an optimism and a positivity that will absolutely contribute to the potential success of Donald Trump going into January.
8:15 on Nashville's Morning News. More with Matthew Hurt coming up next. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jay. Mostly cloudy today and a high of 53. Rain on Saturday through Sunday morning. Highs both days near 60. Right now, 35 degrees. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurt is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. All right, so Matthew, when it comes to Donald Trump's second term, are you worried that he's going to face the same kind of harassment that he faced in the first term? Do you think that he's going to be subject to, impeachment investigations or, nonstop investigations and accusations like he saw in the first go around?
I think with Republicans controlling the Senate and the House in the first 2 years, we get a bit of a reprieve on a lot of the lawfare and maneuvering. I do think we're going to see obstinance in some of the departments, which if Donald Trump is able to start day one with a lot of his nominees, with a lot of people in place, and it seems he continues to make appointments and nominations at an unprecedented clip, I think that we're going to see less of that. And also, as I just said a moment ago, Dan, there's just less angst and protest. We have not had a single protest in Washington, D.C. That has made the news in the wake of the election, whereas in 2016 it was nonstop. We had the pink crochet hat ladies, and we and we had all of that, and we have none of that this time. And I did a television interview the day before the election, and I was shocked and surprised that there weren't protesters on the way to the studio. And so I think culturally there's less appetite for it. I think that the American people are looking at this through the lens of optimism. And I also think some of the elements of our government, Congress in particular, and Donald Trump's selections for appointments will make it easier for him to do more quickly than the last time around.
Part of me, and this is where we'll end, but part of me, I want this is going to sound weird, so I got to make sure that I frame this right, and I'm highly medicated. But part of me hopes that the Democrats continue with this petty grievance nonsense that we're seeing over the next 4 years, because that will give us J.D. Vance for another 8. I don't want the Democrats to be so petty that it damages America or its people. But if they keep this up, you just said that there's less of an appetite for it now. And so I think that if they continue down this road where right now we do have this optimism, they do so at their own peril. What say you?
Most Americans just want the government to do what it's supposed to do. And if Americans can see that Democrats are obstructing based on pettiness, it will not play out well for them. I do also want to see the Trump administration be successful in its policies. And I think numerically in the House and the Senate, we've got a pretty good chance of that heading into January.
All right. Matthew Hurt, always great to have you on. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon. 8:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open. Thank you for all the responses this morning. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. Dan Mandis here for the Glock Store and their Shoot 270 indoor ranges. Yes, these are rooms, not lanes. A lot of us have shot in the lanes, and they're the same everywhere you go. I've been shooting in the Shoot 270 indoor ranges for a couple of years now, and they're amazing. And the trainers at the Glock Store, they are incredible as well. They'll show you why the Glock is the most popular handgun in America. You can also tour their Shoot 270 indoor ranges. It is the only one in the country where you can get private shooting rooms that offer one-on-one personal instruction. You'll actually shoot less, but learn more.
Now, every time I shoot at the Glock store, I leave a better and more confident shooter every single time, guaranteed. So book your session and check out the pictures and videos at shoot270.com. That's shoot270.com. The Glock store at glockstore.com. Minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Hey everybody, Dan Mandis from Nashville's Morning News. The Wall Street Journal reported a while ago that people are feeling stress, anxiety, and depression because of this election. If that's you, talk to my guy, Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He is a psychiatrist out in Nolensville. Now, he can help you with not only depression, if you're feeling it because of politics or whatever, but he can also help you with alcoholism, drug abuse as well. Go to his website, nolensvillepsychiatry.com. He's got a long list of conditions that he can help you with, either in person or at telehealth. Bottom line is, he wants to make it as easy as possible for you to get the help that you need. He can help your kids as well. Check him out online. Again, nolensvillepsychiatry.com. The number's below. Thanks for listening, and good luck. 826, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones, Johnny B, with me as well. Dan Mandis here. Have you heard the story? Seen the headline? Crystal Magnum says that she falsely accused those Duke lacrosse players of rape back in 1986. This is stunning. This is what she says. This was on a podcast.
And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't.
Wow.
And that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And that was wrong. And I hope that they can forgive me.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoa. Is this the first time she's admitted that she made the story up?
I mean, I'm going to admit it's been a long time since I even thought about this story, but I mean, this is all over the place now here in the last little bit. So, yeah.
The crazy part about this is it's a I guess a podcast from somebody overseas in Eastern Europe. She's not even an American interviewer that got her to open up about this.
She falsely accused David Evans, Colin Finnerty, and Reed Seligman of raping her again way back in 2006. I mean, Johnny, I think we all remember this story.
Oh, definitely. And just think of those guys' lives. That she basically ruined
their lives, yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
And now I guess the question is, all right, so if I'm these guys, do you forgive her? Because that's what she's asking for. You just heard the audio bite. Would you forgive Crystal Mangum after she accused you of rape? And, you know, their names, if you Google them, no doubt, I mean, that's going to come up. And so as these guys are getting out of college and so on, then they're trying to find jobs and so forth. That always would come up.
Yes.
And you know that just that stains your name forever. And so now she, number one, I would say, what took you so long? Because it's 2024 now, almost 2025. And you knew that you lied back in 2006. And so now here you are, 18 years later, and you're finally admitting that you lied? I mean, it seems to me like it's, about 18 years too late.
The coach was forced to resign. The university canceled the remainder of the season. Remember that? I mean, ugh. And the DNA didn't even match any of the 46 white players on the team.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to play her that Lyle Lovett song, God Will Forgive You, But I Can't.
You know, I'm wondering, why is she doing this now? Like, what's the point of her coming out now? I mean, is it maybe perhaps that it's been weighing on her all this time? I mean,
she found Jesus in jail. She's been studying the Bible. She found Jesus in jail, and she's trying to piece her life back together. She's in prison right now for stabbing her boyfriend. So she's had a tough life.
Yes, she has.
She's
so is
lived
the
a rough
boyfriend.
life. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not making light of it. What happened to the boyfriend?
Let's see.
He survived. Well, whatever. I mean, all I'm saying is that she knew she lied a long time ago.
Oh, he died. I just read that.
Wow.
So she was in jail or is in jail for murder or manslaughter?
Second-degree murder.
How long is she in jail for?
In 2013, Crystal was sentenced to a minimum of 14 years in prison for second-degree murder.
Okay. Well, she still should have admitted that she lied earlier, and I don't know what to do with this other than she should have admitted it earlier, and we'll see how long she ends up in. 2003. So she's in prison for a long time still.
She is. 2013 that she was sentenced. So no, she's not in prison that much longer.
No?
14 years. in 2013.
Yeah, you're right.
She's
You're
12
right.
years in already. Almost 12 years in. So I don't math well first thing in the morning, but,
Yeah, I don't math well at all.
Here's
but
the saddest part about this whole story. She's got
Yeah.
3 children. She's got 3 kids.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Well,
So-
I would love to know, as this story continues to unfold, I would love to know what the 3, Colin and Reed and David, I would love to know what their reaction to this is.
Yeah. I wonder if
I
they'll be
mean-
willing to come out now and talk.
I don't know. I mean, I would be interested to know how this impacted their lives. Because, again, obviously it was, she is now admitting that she did lie.
Yeah.
And so I would be interested to know, though, how this impacted their lives. Because I think that I know Christians are supposed to be forgiving, and I totally get that. I totally understand that.
Oh, yeah.
That would be tough. That would be tough. So we'll see what happens with Crystal Mangum. And after so many years admitting on a podcast that she did knowingly lie about those Duke lacrosse players, again, of rape back in 2006. Boy, we're running late. 8:32, Nashville's. You know what? Here, Johnny, here's the problem. The 3 of us cannot do anything short.
Yeah.
We just can't. It's like, hey, we can slip this in real quick, and now we're like 2 minutes late. So let's get to the news on WTN.
Good morning. It's 8:33. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A grand jury is beginning to consider the evidence Manhattan prosecutors have against Luigi Mangione today as they work on getting an indictment in the killing of Brian Thompson. And we're hearing that Mangione's tactics are now being copied.
A Florida woman charged with threatening her insurance company after it denied her claim. In a phone call, Brianna Boston allegedly said, "Delay, deny, depose. You people are next," echoing the words police say were written on the shooter's bullets.
ABC's Aaron Katursky reporting Mangione supporters are donating tens of thousands of dollars now to online legal defense funds, including one that was set up anonymously. Pretrial hearing set for today in President-elect Donald Trump's lawsuit against ABC News. Trump is suing ABC News and anchor George Stephanopoulos for defamation after the anchor said on the air that Trump was found liable for rape in a civil case, despite a jury actually determining he was liable for sexual abuse. And there's a distinct definition under New York law between the two. The trial is set to start in June. Trump is suing CBS News in a separate suit for $10 billion for deceptively editing a 60-minute segment, he said, for the purpose of election interference. Well, cord cutters got rid of their cable service because it cost too much. Now subscribers to some alternate TV services are crying foul because YouTube has just announced the price is going up to $83 a month. That's $10 a month more.
They were looking at ways to cut costs of what it was to consume cable television. But the fact of the matter is that it costs more than ever, and it almost doesn't matter where you get your TV from right now.
ABC News entertainment contributor Kelly Carter. The new price takes effect in January. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:34, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. And my company for foundation repair and concrete leveling and waterproofing is United Structural Systems. Now, they fix my foundation, and they can help you with yours as well. They're awesome, USS. Easy to work with, and above all, competent and reasonable. If you notice doors and windows sticking, uneven floors, maybe gaps between the trim and the ceiling, these are all signs that you might have a possible foundation issue. And nobody does it better than USS, United Structural Systems. Now, they've been serving Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they've helped thousands of satisfied homeowners with great work and communication. They're going to give you a free inspection and detailed estimate before you make a decision. Communication is always key to making sure that everybody is on the same page. And you don't pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. USS for all your foundation, concrete leveling, and waterproofing needs. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. Online, USSTN.com.
Well, we've got an accident. It's in Goodlettsville at 65 northbound lanes at Rivergate Parkway. That's exit 96. The left lane is blocked off there. Also, if you're in downtown, it's a crash at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It's right at Representative John Lewis Way. And a crash, too, in Berry Hill, 65 northbound at the I-440 exit. That's number 80. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.839 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask because some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof, and this means that the insurance company is depreciating how much they pay for your roof claim. Older roof, they are going to pay you less. That could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they do pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-329-8121. 615-329-8121. Get your Royal Review, tkinginsurance.com. What was that, Johnny, you said about Mark Cuban?
Oh, what a, well, I won't go in. I just said stupid.
Somebody asked Mark Cuban why he's a jackass.
Yeah, there you go.
That's my words, not Johnny. But I'll go ahead and throw that out there. Yeah, will they include that in the podcast?
I wish they would.
I'd tell you what, it'd make it a lot more listenable. Anyway.
Sure would. More entertaining.
That's right. Put that in the promo. Moving right along.
Take that, Westwood.
Yeah. All right. 8:41 and time for the Gang of Four. I'm Dan. Chris is there. Hello, Chris.
What's up? I got to sleep in today. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I'm here. I'm fine. Joan is here. Johnny's here. And Chris, first of all, thank you for filling in for me.
Absolutely. I'm actually really impressed that they're letting you broadcast from the treatment facility.
Well,
it's cool.
Interesting you say that because if you look at Dan's, as he's broadcasting, a lot of things are blurry.
Oh, yeah.
So they're blurring out some of the people that are
that makes sense.
there at the treatment center.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a
camera
privacy
people.
issue.
Yeah.
How are the Slippery Elm withdrawals going, Dan?
You know, it's a little tough. And what's happening is, I'll be like in the middle of a sentence and my voice just drops out for like half a beat and then it comes back. But that's one of the problems with weaning yourself off of Slippery Elm is your voice sucks when you've got, a big illness.
And
so there
Dan,
you go.
Dan, you had some people that were praying for you because they heard that.
Yeah.
All right, so
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So somebody actually believed that you were in a rehab facility because we were laughing about it.
Yeah.
Oh, like seriously?
Well, they said your potassium. I jokingly said that your potassium levels went down to a dangerous level, and somebody bought it, so they did a prayer chain for you on Facebook, and I had to get on there and tell them we were laughing. It's a joke.
Oh my goodness, Johnny.
We giggled through the whole thing for the record.
Yes.
We giggled through the whole thing.
Yes.
So I want to make sure everyone is clear that as I was literally on my deathbed and I could not get out of bed for like 2 days, y'all are laughing at me.
I
just want to make sure.
We're laughing with you. We're laughing with you.
That's what it is.
No, that's laughing at me. I'm pretty sure that's laughing at me. By the way, speaking of which, 1047.
Yeah.
Dan sounds like he finally went through puberty. I like it. Sounds good on him.
Oh, and one of the prayer chain people, they called you Dan Mathis. Prayers for Dan Mathis.
Dan Mathis. Well, you know what? Somewhere Dan Mathis is getting all kinds of love from God.
Yes, he is.
John says he thinks Dan is in a bunker in Syria. Somebody actually said to me on the super text line, I looked like I was being held hostage. And so, I think he said blink twice if you need help, that kind of a thing.
And you just blinked twice.
I'm blinking a lot because, can I just say that my body and my life has been really sucky for like the last, week and a half, 2 weeks? Yeah. Because I had the problem with my eyes. Remember? I went to the doctor. And then they put this stuff in my eyes. And then I couldn't see, and my eyes looked like, they were like bloodshot, like I'd been drinking for, a couple of weeks straight. And then I had this happen. And so it's been a really rough couple of weeks. And the fact that I was able to, get up today, and I was bound and determined. Amy wanted me to take one more day. And I said, nope, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do my shows. And so that's what I did. And, it's just been because I did Chris Red Eye Radio too. So I've been on the air from like midnight to 9 a.m. And then later on today, I've got another show in another market. So,
jeez,
Superman.
Crazy.
You got that warrior spirit.
Yeah, you do.
That's exactly right. I've got that
lunatic, maniacal spirit.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And also, I got to point out here, Chris Hand, it's my wife's birthday. But what does she do on her birthday?
Oh, my gosh, this woman.
She made him jerky.
She's an angel. She sent me in a whole bag. There was a typo on it because it says Chris and Fam. So I think she meant just Chris. But other than that, it was perfect. It was the perfect thing to walk into, a bag of jerky from Johnny B's wife, Glenna. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Glenna.
Thank you.
Hey, Johnny, how old is Glenna?
She's old enough to know better.
Johnny's old enough to know better not to answer that question.
That's right.
She's 30.
Well done.
There's only a few questions you're not allowed to ask. It's, a woman's age, how much a man makes, and who's on the Epstein client list. Other than that,
there you go.
There's nothing else off limits.
Do you know what I hate about being sick the way that I am is when I cough, it sounds like I'm a 3-pack-a-dayer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and I think if I smoked cigarettes, I'd probably have a better voice, but I don't. And so I usually sound like this. So,
Doesn't drink whiskey, doesn't smoke Cool Miles.
6672. Congratulations, Dan. The hormone therapy is working.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
Ruthless.
Man.
These people.
I know, but that's okay. I love most of you. Anyway, what?
Somebody wants to know if you've been tested for bird flu yet.
Oh.
Bird flu?
Oh.
Yeah.
I got attacked by a parakeet, so I don't know. Maybe.
You got attacked by a parakeet?
Yeah, this was like last year. So it was a terrible parakeet incident.
You still have some PTSD from that?
Sure.
The parakeet incident.
I was at a friend's house, had a parakeet, and the thing got out, and it went right for me. It was a whole thing.
Wow.
Wow,
did I not mention that on the? I guess I didn't mention that.
No, you've never mentioned the parakeet
It
incident.
was going after your shiny head.
I saw the beacon of truth.
Yeah.
I'll end there.
You know what? Hey, I got something to say to all three of you, and that is in under 10 minutes, when I sign off, I am 10 feet from my hot tub, and that's what I'm going to be in. Y'all can suck it. You know what? I'm just saying. So
good for
anyway.
you, Mr. Mandis.
The one benefit, because I've hated today's broadcast. I hate working from home. I miss Johnny. I miss Joan. I know how much they miss me.
Yeah, we do miss you.
We were saying that all morning long, right behind the scenes here.
We have been.
Yeah.
Man.
And Super Talk TV is so much fun to play with when somebody's on location.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, who's got content? Chris, go.
Did you see the Syrian prisoner that was rescued by CNN from the jail yesterday?
No.
They pulled this guy out, and it was Clarissa Ward who found him, which I don't know if you remember Clarissa Ward. She got busted for faking the rocket attack in Israel on October 9th?
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Clarissa Ward is back in a war zone, and she randomly finds a guy in a prison who's hiding from the Assad regime. He's under a blanket, and they pull this guy out, and he's got like manicured nails.
He's shaven pretty well. Like his beard is close.
He said I've been in here for 4 days without food and water, but he's got a perfectly trimmed beard.
Yeah,
of course.
He's totally clean, and it was Clarissa Ward of all people that found him.
Wow, thank God.
And isn't it weird? Like he was in this inner cell of this jail, like way behind a few doors.
Yep.
And they just happened to open the right door to find him.
It was so lucky.
Yeah.
And they said, turn the camera away. We have to shoot the lock off. And then you don't even hear a gunshot.
Now, does she work for CNN?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How do they keep her on payroll? I mean, she's obviously a loon.
I think she's on payroll for this type of propaganda, especially.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's one of those things where it's CNN, and it's not real surprising.
The worldwide leader in a lack of integrity. I can't believe they did this, though. The video is unbelievable. If you want to see it, it's on my Twitter page, at Chris Hand on Air. The guy's, he looks better than I do, and I just showered.
Oh, that is so funny.
But she also does she goes over to a place and the camera just happens to catch her like sobbing, like,
oh my God.
Yeah. It's pretty,
I wonder if she'll get an Academy Award for their acting in this.
Well, where was he? Was he under a blanket?
He was under a blanket, and he had a nice coat on, a brand new coat on.
Yes.
Shampooed hair.
Yep.
Oh my God! It'd be pretty funny that the label is still on the coat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the tags on it.
Tags on it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And it says Target.
Yep.
Kind of like seeing one of these guys at the interstate off ramp, and he's got better tennis shoes than you have.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
One of the first talk shows I ever did. I was coming down an off ramp. And a dude, he was begging for money, right? And he had on a brand new Broncos jersey. And I'm like, and he had a cell phone.
Of course.
And I mean, I was flat broke at the time, living in Colorado. And I'm laughing at this guy. And I said, dude, how much did that jersey cost you? And he didn't care. He was like, $220. And,
jeez.
And I was like, why am I going to give? Why? And I said, why am I going to give you money? He says, because I'm needy, man. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
You sure are, pal. You sure are.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Couldn't get the $500 jacket, huh?
That's exactly right. So yeah, he had a better cell phone than I did, and he had the Broncos jersey that I certainly could not afford. All right, it's 8:52. On Nashville's Morning News, Chris Hand, what is coming up?
Well, LeBron James is surprisingly stepping away from basketball for personal reasons, and I'm going to explain why it has absolutely nothing to do with the Diddy parties. Like
nothing at all.
Don't even no. That's a conspiracy theory. It has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Do you
we'll lay it all out.
do you have the audio of that UFC guy clearly not asking about the Diddy parties?
Oh, this guy?
I want to ask LeBron, what does he mean by there's no party like a Diddy party?
Yeah, we got all that and more.
All right, very good.
That's Kobe Covington of the UFC.
Wow.
I also have audio of fans at an Eagles game seeing LeBron James in a box and calling him out about it. He's already stepped away from social media because he's been called out about it. And we got a lot more coming out about Jay-Z. Beyonce making a surprise name change on the Forbes list. And people are saying that that's a foreshadowing of things to come.
Hey, LeBron, get used to being in the box, bud.
Ooh.
Johnny B, everybody.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it.
All right. Chris Hand is coming up next, 8:53, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. I will be back in studio on Monday, whether they like it or not.
Big hype. We're big hype for that, Dan.
I'm sure you are, as much as I am. Spend time where it matters most this holiday season and sell your home fast with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Don't worry about showings and open houses or spending money on costly repairs. The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate allows you to bypass the market, receive an all-cash offer, and close in as little as 21 days. Now, one of their clients, Tom, said, Mark Spain Real Estate sold my home quickly and for more money than we expected. The entire process was easy and stress-free. And Tom says, I highly recommend Mark Spain Real Estate, and so do I. So call them, 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD, markspain.com.